But you're splitting 3 with John, what's his face?
John Bailey, yeah.
Bailey, yeah.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at
Oh,
7:30.
hang on a second.
There you go.
All right, now you can start again.
I'd like to bring this meeting to order. And I guess the first thing would be the approval of the minutes. Is there any omissions or corrections to the minutes?
I had some corrections. On the second page, Amy, when you talk about 3 Fort Pond Hill, just as a note of interest, so it says that you went out, but also to make note that Chase, Andrew, myself went out.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then I've added a little bit more of the narrative at the beginning. State the proposed limits of work and flag the trees that were to remain, the fill areas as well. So that's one comment. The trees, in terms of 45 Mattawamkeag Trail, when they were in, this, on page 3, it says, and that 2 5 shrubs be planted. Wasn't it
Oh, well, because it was 1,
1 for 1?
wood chips be shred, and 2, 5 shrubs.
It reads
Yeah.
differently, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, yeah,
Maybe you should put A, B, or something.
Or just like a total of,
on page 4, under the notice of intent for Cooper halfway down, it says, Ms. Green also noted that GAI had finished the peer review. I think because it's the first time we talk about it, it needs to be Green International to actually spell that out. And then below that, it says applicant agreed to increase path to 15 feet where equipment was. So basically, they agreed to 13 feet and then 15 feet where the turn was. Because this states it was a 12-foot path. Didn't we agree to 13 and then 15?
It's still close.
So
Well, this
I
is,
know
the
we
tractor
agreed
path is
to-
shown as 13, though. It's at the first sentence, this is shown as 13 feet.
They tried.
Oh, okay, all right, yep, no, I get it, okay. So, and then the others were just kind of like, a letter here and there.
I have one count also on 417 King Street, map U101 parcel 113.
it's actually not 10, but yeah.
Oh. There was also discussion of directing the flow more directly to the pipe on the abutter's property, so I just made a note of that.
Okay.
In here in the second part.
Should be dry well.
Well, it's
Yeah, it
not a
wasn't
dry, he
really a
pointed out
dry
that
well.
it isn't a dry
Yeah.
well, that
Yeah,
it,
he
it leads
Because,
to
because it has an
height
outlet,
stuff, right.
so, yeah.
yeah.
And I'd like to make note someplace on the Cooper property that Amy and I went out on, was it Wednesday of last week? Just so it was included that I had been on site.
Yeah. I'll mention
move
both
that
sidewalks.
we accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Administrative discussion, informal discussion, Lake Mattawamkeag harvesting. Which would be
Can
for the
introduce
harvesting of the
yourself.
Hello, my name is Chuck Bush. I live in 31 Mattawamkeag Trail. I am here for the Littleton Mattawamkeag Association. We have been hydro raking now for over 20 years, and I am here to try to figure out which plan to, not plan, but papers to fill out for the renewal. It's a 3-year renewal, and there's about maybe 10 to 20 people that do it every year. And if we don't really do it, it's really going to affect the area. So it's really important for us to keep this going.
What invasives are you trying to remove with the hydro raking?
It's more, it's not the invasives that we're trying to remove. It's the oak leaves that come down and get in people's yards or in areas, and then it just starts to make all this silt, and then that will create weeds, okay, in that. And what it is a homeowner like myself or many other people will get the hydro raker for an hour, and they'll rake, and they'll put it on your dock. You'll pick those up and you'll bring it to the transfer station, and it makes it bearable in front of everybody's property. We're just kind of waiting, we're next, maybe, at the Clean Lakes Committee. I'm on the Clean Lakes Committee also. So we're maybe next after Mill Pond, but that's down the road. So we have to at least keep it clean and try to keep ahead of the curve without letting it go too bad.
So you're just scraping the bottom?
Yes, in just different areas.
Is this when the drawdown is going on, that you're doing that?
Well, the drawdown, no, the drawdown is coming back now. They've put the stop blocks in for the water. Now it's starting to come back up. Drawdown is from October to right around now.
It seemed to me, when you had that, we allowed the cleaning up of the beaches and stuff.
Also that too, but really not many people take advantage of that because it gets kind of towards November, December when that happens.
Wait, that's when you rake?
No, we rake in the end of May, beginning of June.
I would just be
Right.
worried that, wouldn't that disrupt the egg, for the fish, eggs and egg laying?
You know what? If you read what, not aquatic control, but solutions, it's probably one of the best things to do to keep doing with your lake. There's plenty of areas in that lake that we don't touch.
The deeper areas? It's
The
just
deeper
shallow
areas, we don't
right
touch,
near
we
people's
don't even
beaches?
touch we don't touch the areas at the ends of the lake where there's plenty of fish there, and the deeper ends. The unit might go down to 6 feet,
Okay,
and then
so it's
just
limited by that.
comes up in 6 feet, and that's it. Like I
How
said,
about frog eggs?
But you get a lot of the aquatic weeds too.
we do,
The
yes,
off limits.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Definitely. So the question is which form to use? Or
This had been an RDA for 20 years,
Okay.
and I don't want to say, fine, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think
Unless a
it's-
notice of
it's-
intent is really more appropriate, so your call.
I don't think a notice of intent is necessary.
I think this is more a maintain type of thing.
All the other ones, and it is the herbicides, are NOIs.
Oh, we're not talking herbicides here.
Right.
I'd like to back up Jackie on that. I'm with the Clean Lakes Committee also, Gerald James, 21 Laurel Road. It's the only practical way of taking care of Mattawanaki and the weed problem. Saying that can't do anything chemically because Westfit owns 60% of Mattawanaki. We only have the other 40, even though we have more people there than Westford does, because of the side of the shore, it's in Littleton. But it's the only practical way to accomplish that. You can do a lot of things and they hand pull it. You can bring a harvester machine in there, it costs plenty, and what it'll do is tear up the bottom. When you hand harvest, you're not doing that much to the ecology at the very base bottom, which is the very bottom of the food chain also.
So, you say you're doing this for weed control as well? Because my impression was he said that it wasn't for
Yes,
weed control.
weed
You did
You
play
have
both
weed
ways when you did it.
control, you
Yes.
need the
Right.
weed control to, otherwise, it takes no time at all with the amount of nutrients poured into these lakes. Takes no time at all to have an overflow of weeds, and they just go right up to the land, some of them, and some of them don't
There's an
need
old
to be
one behind there.
underwater once they get going.
Just
They're going
sometimes,
to
some invasives spread more when you hydrorache. That's why I'm asking which
Oh,
type
it's
of
just,
weeds
it's
you're
just
trying-
like, it's just like mowing a lawn, okay?
Yeah.
It's just like mowing a lawn.
Invasives are changing and all the time, modifying, changing. Has a recent update on the type of invasive weeds you're trying to remove been done, a survey
Well,
been
if you
done?
take a look around, if you come to a Clean Lakes committee meeting, there's a huge study on that lake right now with Bob Hartzell leading that study, and we know where the weeds are, and he checks them every year. He
Okay.
studies them, he maps them, and
And he
that,
agrees that hydro raking is appropriate for that.
for
types
the
of
amount of
weed
money that we have right now in the kitties, that's the best plan. Because the lake flows too fast for really to put the weed killer down. There is new weed killer out there, okay? They tried it at Long Lake and everything, but it's really not approved yet. So we're not on top of that yet.
So Amy,
Somebody
you're-
get a list of the weeds that Bob Hartzell,
Yeah.
you said? That he's collected, just so we have an idea, because right now you're kind of speaking ignorant, but if we could at least, I'm not saying we're not gonna,
we can just
vote
get a
on
copy of
tonight,
the minutes
but
from
it'd
one
be
of the
nice,
meetings.
it'd be nice just for us to have, information he's collected, just for our future
And,
reference.
and you know
So
what?
And this is really tonight just to make sure that the RDA is,
Right, so
And-
let's,
and-
let's
Not
go
a notice
ahead
of
and
intent,
follow
that's
through
it.
with this application for
Okay.
applicability so that he can, because we always see these every year with all our lakes, so I'm in
Okay,
support of it.
what I'd like too is if someone, okay, on this board would like to be on the Clean Lakes Committee, there is a spot open for the Conservation Commission, because the fellow that used to be on it here has passed, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Peter? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gone, so,
Peter
no,
Tierney.
it was
Peter.
I think it was me,
Sessman.
but,
No, there was a fellow on here though, but he's not here now. So, I mean,
Probably Ellen
Or Tom Mann.
I'm not
Okay, well anyways, so.
anyways,
we're gonna
I'm
keep
just saying,
going
so if you'd like to know more, and Amy came before, so there's plenty of checking it out.
Yeah, I would,
mean, do you-
yeah.
down. Do you need us to, so he's all set?
I just wanted to make sure
Okay, no, so he's all set.
that's where you guys wanted to go.
Yeah, I just wanna make
It's-
sure that Bob Hartzell also has taken into account the egg laying and reproduction in the pond, and that May is an appropriate time to disturb the bottom of the lake.
Or if there's a better, or are we saying, is there a better time to do it?
Like the
Right.
fall or something like
That's
that.
a
Just
reason,
some-
I think that's a
Maybe when the
reasonable
leaves are
question.
there, down too.
I think it's the best time with the, weather,
Yeah,
and after the
Why don't
Something to
you
think about.
refile that?
The turnover?
Yeah, he's all set.
I'll file this up, and if you want something from Bob Hutzel, we'll give you something. But if you'd like to come to a Clean Lake Committee meeting, you're welcome to come
Yep.
every first Wednesday of the month, okay?
Okay, one at a
When
time.
I got
is
too much
fine.
going on here.
Come back in again, bring the information from Bob Hartzell.
You can just give it to Amy, he doesn't have to
Okay,
come back
or
in.
Send it.
I'll bring it,
But you're gonna submit the RDA.
all right,
Okay?
thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Connecting bike trail from Goldsmith Street to 119 Church Meadows property.
We're going to once again postpone that.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if you said April 3rd or not, so I figured I better put it on. All right.
General order of conditions discussion.
Let's move that to the
Yeah.
end and just keep
Okay.
going.
Continued public hearing to recommended order of conditions 204-756, 330 King Street, Congregational Church of Littleton, map U19, parcel 37-0 for modification to stormwater management system.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Please
pleasure to
introduce
see you.
yourself.
Thank you. Bruce Ringwall from Goldsmith Preston Ringwall here for Congregational Church of Littleton. When we were here last, you asked for some questions on the silt prison. I've obtained a bunch of different information for you. I went to the Mass Step site, which is out of UMass, that did the approval of various different BMPs. I have 2 copies of that, 2 copies of the comparisons, so you have other ones for your file if you haven't been to that site. I also brought in,
I mean, was that submitted electronically? So that
No.
can go out to
Yep.
the commissioners?
No, I can scan it
I
though.
was
I
not.
think that's
I-
most
I-
of the website.
it's just,
I was able to do most of
Okay.
the research I needed to do.
uh,
The one thing I couldn't find was the design life of these, so I'm hoping
Right.
you have an answer on that.
I got something for you.
Okay.
All right, so then I also went to their frequently asked questions on here, and it talks about the cleaning you asked about, which I already had given you. Can you retrofit them? Definitely has all that on here. Says, can a clamshell or vector cause damage to the silt prison skirt? We've hired vac truck operators for the purpose of deliberately damaging the treatment skirt. Operators went home disappointed. So I have 2 copies of all that fun stuff for you. But I also have for you from the 2 copies from the manufacturer. I spoke with them. He says they give out the term of 20 years, but they expect much longer. It's only been on for about, I think, 5 or 8 years. He says within the manhole unit, the quoted life is 100 years per NPCA. The silt prism consists of woven polypropylene filters and fibers that they're quoted for 50 years life, and goes on and on and on and on. And I gave you all the pages of all the pieces that it's made up of, that they're 50-year lives, yet they put it together and they say it's a 20-year life expectancy. Then you asked when the thing had been cleaned last. And make sure I give one of all this to Amy. The church didn't know. The church and I both believed that the contractor did not clean it when they were on site. Their operations gentleman went through, and he said that he goes out and checks it fairly regularly, and there's just a little bit of sediment in the bottom of the basin, and it's well down from the invert, and I'll attest to that because I've seen that. But I think the more important part that'll hopefully make Sarah happy is that the church has selected a contractor. It's Butch Newton, who did the work around cleaning up from what the GC did not do. And in his bid is to replace the catch basin, because when you get it replaced, he doesn't have to go down and deal with dealing it. He just gets, the thing comes all attached to it. So I've got multiple copies of that for you as well. So hopefully that answers your questions on that. Keep in mind that when we filed this first notice of intent, way back when, and the subsequent notices of intent and this amendment request, this is a site where we're making less impervious area now than before. So we're in a redevelopment situation under stormwater management. We've taken a parking lot that was deteriorating asphalt and gravel that was draining to 2 catch basins with a direct discharge right into the swale. We've put in 2 larger one, biofilters, and then making use of one of the catch basins with now a silt prism within it, which is rated by the state for 62.5% of TSS removal, through some storage chambers, and then, as I say, a larger bioretention basin before we have any discharge. So we're done a lot here to change things around. And the church is, they've been in a hard place. They paid the contractor, they didn't get a product, and we're just trying to get them back on track. You don't have to get photos. They're plowing the snow in the wrong direction. They've, we told them how to plow
Are
it.
they salting the driveway? I'm sure that they're putting something on the driveway.
I have no idea. I have no
So the
idea.
commission
So
just needs
we-
to be
we-
aware of it, so that going forward, that there comes up with some alternative signage or blockage or something.
they have to talk to their contractor, because their contractor went out and plowed it in the direction opposite of what they and we all agreed to. So,
The commission can ask to have signage put up or some other type of delineation for future contractors if they wish.
signs are gonna get buried by the snow pile, so I think we just have to talk with them. It's not like they're far away, they're right next door, and we know it, I know it, you know it, you guys see it more often than I do. They know it now. I talked with them about it. They said they'll talk to the contractor.
So Bruce, with respect to the discharge to the bioretention basin, you've got enough storage in the cells between the catch basin and the bioretention basin that you're not gonna back that water up, is that right? You've done those calculations, you're not gonna back it up under an extreme flow event? That was my last, I think, substantial concern that I didn't think I had voiced last time. And as long as you've
We're
done
good.
the math. I actually like this sill prism. Did a little homework on it, thanks for the education.
We think they're great.
Yeah, and I think it's a positive improvement. I think the original design might have been best, but we are where we are.
What's your pleasure, folks?
I will make a motion to grant the request for amendment for the order of conditions, DEP file number 204-756-330 King Street.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wow. 20 minutes ahead of schedule.
Oh,
We'll find a way to blow it.
Oh, I think
Yeah, somebody backed out. I can't remember what happened at this point.
We've got enough to discuss, so.
this
So, actually,
next
in-
one will
I'll go
take
sit
us-
down.
As long as we get to 8:10, we're good.
This is the determination of applicability for Brad Town on Four Pine Hill, which I neglected to get signed, so
Right.
you've got that. And he is still, as far as I know, planning on submitting by the 22nd, Wednesday. And here's the amended order.
Oh, and I forgot, in the minutes, we also talked about, reducing the velocity of the water by covering the riprap with soil. He agreed to do that as well.
Of, what was that for?
That was for 417, Great Road,
yeah.
for redirecting, or directing the water more, directly to the pipe.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we can go back to, kind of discussion, you wanna speak to the salt application, Sir? Do you wanna
Yep.
speak? We've got some time in here.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
I haven't done that much studying on the
What
alternatives.
we ask is for you to introduce yourself, and
Okay.
it was agreed by the commission to just have an informal discussion on salt applications to the roads.
My name is Gerald James, 21 Laurel Road. Of course, in Littleton, I'm also on the Clean Lakes Committee, and I'm also retired 32 years from the Coast Guard Auxiliary, working mostly in stormwater management with the bordering towns to the ocean. And also working with MWRA, Coastal Zone Management, and I'm going to drop it there because we get into a lot of stuff that just isn't necessary here. Basically, what's bothering me is that it's a multifaceted. We're taking pervious ground and making it impervious. Therefore, our groundwater, it's gotta go to the sewers, the drains, all right? This year, according to Mr. Clyde's figures, we put in 2,389 tons of salt on our roads. As we all know, you cannot take salt out of a saline solution inexpensively or easily.
Good person is here.
Because what happens with it, when you make the mesh fine enough to stop the salt, you also have a clogging problem. As Stanford and the University of Illinois are studying right now to see what they can do, and they haven't figured out how to stop the clogging. But they're talking nano-prene as far as filters go. So you're talking some serious filters. The thing is that we're letting this stuff go through. Well, we don't belong to any water waste management treatment plants. So what we do is we take everything and we filter it as best as we can and let it go into one of two places, the wetlands or the lakes. I haven't figured out any place else where it will go, all right? So now we're pumping all this salt into the wetlands and the lakes. Not good. We're destroying in the wetlands. You're worried about aquatic nuisances. Okay? Salt is going to do much more damage than any aquatic nuisance. All right? So, now alternatives. Well, they haven't studied that yet, but I will. And I have enough background and enough people that I know that are experts in it. MIT Sea Grant does a lot of inland work, and we'll see if there's some alternatives. And if there are some inexpensive alternatives, such as pre-treating, all right, New Hampshire pre-treats, and I believe it works out very well. But I don't know how expensive it is.
It pre-treats with what?
Pardon me?
Before the storm.
With salt, though?
No, they
Oh.
pre-treat with a liquid.
What is it?
What liquid?
I haven't studied the whole problem myself. I just want to bring it to your attention that I believe that it is a problem. I believe that the more that we take our wetlands and encroach on them, as we're doing between Goldsmith Street and Great Road, we're actually taking our wetlands, pushing the buffer zones in, all right, making the buffer zone smaller, and we're actually almost creating stormwater runoff ponds loaded with salt, all right? As far as, and that's the problem. And I think that you don't need $100,000. You know, you don't need Charles River watershed coming into the Merrimack with $100,000 to tell you how to make a sewer, all right? In this case here, there are enough people, enough volunteers, and enough people that I know that will be able to give me some alternatives. I worked with coastal zone management with the state, but it was all with the oceans. And we actually worked with the towns, Newburyport, et cetera, because of the Parker River, they were destroying it. And what we do is that Beaver Brook, as that travels along and keeps going to the Merrimack, what we're doing eventually is what we're taking and ruining the Merrimack watershed because we're near the top of it. The only other rivers that are higher than us on that would be the Assabet and the Sudbury. And the ones, because they go into Concord, we go in down through Stony Brook, the other side of Forge Village, and the other side of Mattawanaki.
I think a couple areas to look at, what we talked about is the Route 2 in Lincoln, where they have their signage that they do not apply as much, and certainly Sudbury
That's the state.
has that as well. So
Yeah.
they must perhaps have a different product that they're putting down.
Well, this is what, I worked with Lincoln for a while, and I would say that some of the other towns kind of forward-thinking. It's a shame because what happens is you get used to something that's cheap, and there's a mountain of this stuff down in Chelsea that you just go down and, you know, get your share and do it, and they send another ship in from someplace, and that's it. So,
Well, we have seen, I work for the Division of Watershed Management.
you
in my
speak up
job.
a little bit.
Oh, I work for the Division of Watershed Management in my job, and we've seen in the Blackstone River and other rivers, chloride levels spiking
Yes.
just in the past 5 years.
Chloride.
And apparently municipalities have been pushed to use salt because they believe that sand is more harmful and a lot of more maintenance to clean up
It
than
is.
just salt.
It is. Sand and salt.
So apparently across the state, municipalities have been seeing a push to only use salt. And they say that it reduces the amount you have to put down, but
And I think that's why Jim Clyde switched
the
so
salt.
much, yeah.
But we
Hey,
have seen it spiking, and it's probably
Well,
due
chlorine,
to that.
chloride, whatever you wanna call it, for that to spike, yeah, salt, all right? But
I think it's
also,
coming from the groundwater, because it is getting, as you mentioned, into the groundwater.
getting all kinds of things from the groundwater. You've got phosphates, nitrogen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, not counting the coliforms from the septic systems that were old cottages and they haven't been upgraded because nobody's yelled yet, you know, and, you know, it's really something. But the salt, as you say, yes, it has a purpose, but also the people that you look at some of the cities and towns that are doing this, all right, they also have a wastewater management system, all right? Leominster has it, and the surrounding towns feed into it, all right? So when you take and you put the salt in, and then you let the salt settle, all right? And there are ways of getting the salt out in a wastewater management plant through filtration. And the thing is that when you use it in a wastewater management plant, what you have your filtration, but you also clean your filters. Now, you've got a pipe going through a hole and stopping at a hole that fills up, and you've got what is it, poly mesh in there as a filter, all right? Now, poly mesh is going to probably clog up. Right? There's a lifespan, yes, there's a lifespan depending on the type of material, but there's not a lifespan on the finer the mesh, the easier it is to clog. In fact, the Stanford and the University of Illinois are spending a fortune trying to figure out a mesh that will stop salt, but is also just easily replaceable and cheap.
Well, I think we certainly all share your concern that that's a problem, and it's an item that we've discussed with applicants on various issues, trying to at least move the salt usage as far away from some of our ecological resources
When
as possible.
now this is my own experience in wastewater, and we found that if you take the water before it hits the catch basins, such as at the Congregational Church, all right, that if you have a pervious barrier there that will absorb some of this before it gets to the basin, whether you call it a rain garden or
Well,
et cetera,
that's
et
actually
cetera.
part of what the church does. So it goes into a catch basin and then discharges to a
A rain
a
garden.
bioretention basin,
Yeah.
so that bioretention basin is able to at least slow the release of that salt.
Well, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
technologies like that that we've tried to push people to use because they're much better than just discharging the water directly to.
Well, you discharge the water
water
directly, you have an enormous negative effect, all right, enormously. But that's about it, and I'd like to see it studied. If I can add anything to it, I'll leave. Amy knows me from the Clean Lakes Committee, and she also knows that I have quite a background in all of management. And you're worried about aquatic nuisances? Wait until the zebra clams hit.
So there's a couple problems, because we're using contractors for our snow removal.
Yeah,
in this town, so, you know, I think the town, I'm not sure how much control they have over how much salt these guys are spreading. There's been occasions that I've followed a truck down the road and they're salting like hell,
yeah.
and for no reason, I consider to be no reason at all.
It
So there's another issue there beyond the town salting. There's also all the businesses that are in town.
Well, you got
that
the
are doing
private
this.
contractors doing the parking lots and everything.
Right.
Plus you have private contractors working for the town. But the town would be really lacking in its commitment to not have control over these contractors.
Yeah, I understand that, but, you know, if a contractor gets out there and starts spreading salt, they're gonna spread salt. But
Yeah.
I think the alternative is looking for an alternative.
That's
And
exactly
there's
what I
gotta
want to
be,
do.
out of the 300-plus towns in this state,
Yeah,
there's gotta be towns that aren't
There
using salt, that are using something else, or some other form of salt, whether it's, you know,
if I can get all DCR and see who I know down there, and then I can take and find out what they're doing.
Yeah, we would appreciate any information that you could bring back to
Well, I
us.
can, and I have the ability,
I can,
my wife, actually,
she's
she
not
types while I talk.
the vacancy.
And she can type
We
up
thank you in
anything.
advance.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she's also a secretary for the Clean Lakes, but that's really it. Just
We appreciate you coming in
try
and sharing your
and,
concern.
if I could have, if someone once said something about it, wanting to have a membership in the Clean Lakes Committee, I think that is something that would be enormously positive because of the people that we contact, and it's a little bit different atmosphere because it's totally in a marine environment.
Right.
So,
Good.
thank you very much
Thank
for
you for coming
listening
in.
to me,
Yep.
and I hope I didn't chew up too much of the
No,
clock.
you're all
No.
good.
no,
All good.
actually, you
Perfect.
kept us
We're right on time.
right on schedule.
That's good. I very seldom do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple quick things. If you want, yeah, Gabrielle is not gonna be coming in. She was still interested, but she just can't make the time commitment at this point.
Okay.
So she's not coming, so that means right now we have Rob and Rachel as the two applicants.
Okay.
When do we plan on taking action on that?
I think the appointments are gonna be made in late May now, from what I had seen on the website, so.
So maybe make a recommendation at the next
Okay.
meeting or something, yeah.
Thank you.
And just FYI, the planning, the subdivision open space development preliminary plan for K has come in, and planning board asked for comments. And it does include a wetland crossing. So I was just gonna say, in general, that the commission has not received, an application yet, but is concerned about the wetland crossing.
What's their
So if you wanna get
comment
more
period?
specific,
When is their comment period closing?
I'm not sure, I think it's pretty soon, because I've had this for a bit, and then Maren was out, so I'm not sure what the schedule is.
And is that on the website now?
I just wrote myself a note, I want to double check. It's not on our website, it would be on the planning board.
Okay.
I mean, I think that crossing is more complicated than just a crossing
Right.
too. So,
I'd like to see alternatives of the,
yeah,
part of that road.
I'm hesitant to opine much more than that, but
Well, that's
to
kind of how I
simply call
felt.
it a wetland
You haven't
crossing
even seen anything
understates
yet.
the significance of it.
Yeah.
Is it a crossing to access upland? That they
It's,
couldn't
it's
access
basically
with-
a crossing to complete the loop back down to Grimes.
You could go in the other way, though. I think once you look at that, you'll be able to see there's alternatives.
Yeah, so it's going to take some discussion.
Do you want us to give you a formal comment on that, or do you want us to?
Entirely up to you. I already talked to Maren and said, I can just tell you that, we haven't seen the application, and you will have comment at that
Looked
point.
at the plan, so I think that I feel comfortable submitting the comment that we'd like to see alternatives
All right, I will
crossing.
make sure that,
Part of the waiver
think
that they
that's
would
a
have to
fair
submit
comment.
anyway if they.
yeah,
And I would argue even where they're proposing to do this crossing, they're cutting off this little segment of wetland that's just gonna,
Yeah.
it's gonna shrivel up into nothingness. So part of what they're looking at with respect to the crossing in reproducing is not accurate because they're not accounting for the secondary impacts that they're gonna have. So that would be the second comment that I would like to add.
Okay, I've got a comment going back to Andrew's comment a minute ago. I would like Amy to check with Keith to see when they would make the appointment, because it's a reappointment. It's not a reappointment, it's a
yeah.
fill a slot, which may be different than the reappointments.
They may
do
not
it-
have to wait.
I can check the website right now if you want.
But it's more, this is something we've been trying to fill,
You're filling a vacant versus
Yeah.
putting in a new.
so.
Okay.
Okay. And I guess we can go to the 8:10. You got Bruce again?
You do.
Yeah, you're lucky night.
Really, we had you on there for 35 minutes for the church, huh?
So before I forget, so the deadline for applications is April 7th, and they're going to make the appointment during the month of May. They've extended it again, so.
Okay. Go ahead, Bruce.
Good evening, Bruce Ringwald from GPR, here for stoneyard.com. I also have with me this evening David Coutreau from Stoneyard. We filed a notice of intent to address the issues of the enforcement order. We've all been out on the site at least once, some of us multiple times. Talked about what it is that we're going to do. In the first issue, there are 2 catch basins, one off the corner of the building and one that's behind the row of blocks, creating little cubbies up on the end here where they have different product materials. Those blocks were had slid forward, and we're keeping them from being able to access that catch basin to change the silt sack out. They've moved the blocks back, and those silt sacks have been cleaned and replaced on several occasions. And they know that that is part of their listing of things to check and to maintain under their O&M that they have going, and Jim's been keeping a log of all that. I'm gonna go to area 2 first. Area 2 is this, and down here on the southernmost end of the property, closer to Air Road. This is the area where the blocks were established. They put down some gravel for the blocks, and the blocks were put in. As we talked about before, what we would like to do once this order conditions, or this notice of intent has gone through, and hopefully you approve the order conditions, our proposal would be to remove the top row blocks temporarily so that Jim can reach over with an excavator and he can see what he's doing by removing the top row. And then he's gonna grab the gravel that went beyond where he needs to have it to put the blocks down, but not beyond where there was gravel before, and pull that back and bring that back to the other side.
Is there erosion control there, Bruce?
On this side over here?
Yep.
There is not.
Okay.
What there is there is putting in erosion control at the back side of the blocks. And what we're proposed to do, we talked about out here on the site, and here's a detail up here on the top, is right on the back of the blocks, we want to stake and install wattle, and then put 3/4 inch crushed stone to piece stone on top of that. The stone's purpose is primarily to weight the wattle down, and the purpose is that between the cracks of the blocks, we can get some fines going through. They're going to get through, and they're going to get to that wattle, and they're going to build back up, and it's going to block off, and it's just going to seal up those things. And then we'll have the clean stone on the top, so you'll be able to see if there's anything coming through, because you'll have that stone there. We talked out on the site, the section that's white here is where they are, this section that's gray, brings the blocks over to the tree where there was a roll-off that was there before. This is where we talked about bringing that over to. The contours that you see on here is that we're talking about changing the grade. Initially, this whole area was down low. You can see this is existing 266, 225. The water would just come across and it would just go off to the edge. Jim set these blocks in here because he was trying to establish an edge so that things didn't push over. When they bring in dump truck loads of stone, the cobbles, they have a tendency to roll. So the blocks were to kind of keep an edge to that whole thing. So we want to set the blocks through here to establish that, but what we're proposing to do is to grade this so that rather than to grade the water back towards the swale, we grade the water over to here, and we created a little forebay. And there's a little detail for the forebay here. It'd be a 3-to-1 slope down, 1.5 feet deep, and then 4 feet across. And then it'd have stone going out so that it would stop any sediment that would come in through here and allow for water to flow out once the sediment had been detained in the little forebay.
What's the size of that, just approximately, Bruce? So if it's a foot deep?
It's 1.5 feet deep, and looks like about 25 feet long. And let's see if I've got 3-to-1 slope for 1.5 feet. It's going to be about 12 to 15 feet wide.
Is there area to be able to get in and clean it?
That's the whole, it's just basically making a small bowl, small depression right there for everything to grade to. So they'll be able to grade into it with the front end
And
loader.
the proposed treatment of that and cleaning of that is in
In
the
the O&M.
O&M?
Yep.
Old, so
The
obviously.
new
O&M.
O&M.
Okay.
So it's retention. And
It's more just, it's, the water's coming across this area and this
Yeah.
is just a forebay just to kind of collect the sediment out
yeah,
before any water flows on through.
And what's gonna go on in that area again?
Same thing that's been going on forever there. They stockpile the cobbles when the cobbles come in, and then they pick them up from there and bring them up to prepare them on the site.
Is it gonna be a hard surface or?
No, gravel surface.
So that's gonna be hard to maintain grade if they're scooping them up.
Have to grade it off, but, it won't be, he knows that we don't want the water coming back this way. We're trying to do everything we can to reduce the amount of water that goes into this channel.
I guess I would be concerned that if they are reaching over that wall to scoop, it goes along with what Sarah was saying, there's no erosion control on the other side. So as you're scooping out the gravel, you're gonna disturb disturbed soil over there. And I'd be afraid that you don't have anything to stop the runoff from that activity.
It's a pretty flat area that, had gravel there before, and he's, has had leaf litter on it, so he's gonna be taking it down to the leaf litter level. And
You could determine if you wanted to leave it there. That's certainly an option. You could add soil on top of it, which we recently did with another applicant. That's something that you could look in the field and determine if there's less disturbance because of that.
Yep.
If you wanted to do that,
Yeah.
Is that,
something to think of.
add a little loam and seed it.
I mean, once that fills up,
What fills up?
the yeah, once that fills up, you just have constant water flowing over, because it's not going into the ground, is it? How's it operate?
Right now, the water flows right across over towards the wetlands.
Yeah, but once it
So,
fills up, it's just gonna keep flowing right across.
There's a puddle down there right now, last time I was there, and it just slowly evaporates and soaks into the ground.
But is what you're asking is now because you're directing it
Yeah,
there?
you're directing it directly towards it, so it's
when
gonna,
it rains, we're gonna direct it to this point,
right.
it's gonna have a basin so it can settle out, and then, yes.
Well, how
water's
much
gonna
time
flow
does
over.
it have to, I guess my concern
But
is
you're
how much
thinking really
time will it-
stormwater
yeah.
management, what's the,
You got a big
the concept
storm,
of
how
it,
much
yeah.
long is it, how long will it have to filter out? And I know when you bring those stones in, they're really dirty.
They have a lot more time than it's had.
Well, why not have sort of like a dike that's crushed stone so the water's gotta filter through it?
That's what we have. This is all stone on the outlet of it.
You're talking before it. so
So that would catch some of the debris.
might need
So
more.
only during high flow events is that designed to overtop
Correct.
the stone. During low flow events, it's gonna
We're just trying to,
percolate through the stone.
we're trying to let it percolate through the stone.
It seems
the
like on
soil stone.
the outside of the stone, if you just put your wattles in and put your crushed stone on the wattles, like you said, and just leave low enough alone.
Maybe.
Let
Right.
it just
Because you
naturalize
can't-
back there.
Because you can't really see over the wall while you're running the excavator unless you got
The
somebody
soils
there
that they're gonna use to
monitoring,
create
telling you
that
what's
with.
going on.
Yeah.
So just leave it alone. Would be
Could be.
my,
I like the sound of just coating it with like an inch or two of loam and then seed it with a wetland
More
mix
than that.
or conservation mix.
I think you're gonna put the wattles, you're gonna put,
How long do how long do the wattles last before they decompose? Cause then we're stuck with a filled-in, silted,
Over the
decomposing wattle.
Well, that's what we
And where
want.
does the water go?
That-
I
That,
mean,
that's the
Like a crushed
intent,
stone.
that's the intent back here, is to have that in there
That's what he's talking about.
so that it's all up
No.
against it, and it's just
It's
creating a
what he's
dam
talking
so
about,
that
putting
the,
wattle on the outside.
nothing's coming through the blocks.
No,
That's the whole purpose of that.
Yeah, but
That's
then
what-
where's the water going? Once it
The
hits
water's
that
going to
dam?
here.
No, when it hits the dam of the wall that we're
Water
putting,
comes here,
yeah.
it's graded back.
But I think that gets back to what Jim is saying, that the grading is gonna have to be very much ongoing because it isn't,
you're scooping
paved.
up stuff.
because you're working in there so much.
Yeah, the wattles are on the outside of the wall, is that what you were
Correct.
talking about?
That is correct.
Correct.
Oh, I thought you were putting the wattles on the inside
No,
and the
no.
stone
No, no, on the
inside.
back
on the
side of the
backside.
wall.
Outside of the wall, with the crushed stone on top,
Mhm.
for any leaks through with the, between the blocks.
That would be more effective on the inside.
I think
Yeah,
now-
But not
until
right
a
there, when
piece
you're
of equipment hits it.
Pushing up against that with the.
Well, you're gonna have,
Not with
I think
stone
that's
on it.
the advantage of doing
It's
this
not gonna
now is
stay
that so the
there,
equipment
'cause they're
is
gonna
no
be
longer
pushing-
gonna
they're
push on
dumping
this.
rock there.
So you're gonna,
Exactly.
you're gonna have to designate something so that it isn't a pushable mechanism. So
Yeah.
whether it's rocks or something in front of the bigger wall to try and keep that, because we have gone back over
Yeah.
time. So I agree, I support the wattles in the back, but there needs to be some mechanism to
Well,
keep it.
he's filled up against it, so they're not sitting on the ground and you're pushing at the bottom of him. He's got 2 feet of earth in the center against him right now.
How
Because it
much
came
is
down to this low area here,
Mhm.
he's filled right up on that, so there's gotta be about 2 feet of earth on that
How
side.
much fill is behind the block over the thing?
0,
So there's nothing that's gonna keep it, the block from moving?
right. It's just
Well,
that
the
he's
block, if you
standing
pushed
back
on the block would move
Yeah.
and go over the bank. So that's why
Except
you have.
that we have 3 high there, so they're,
Do they need
Get
to
some
be?
good
But I
weight
think
there.
sometimes when people think that they're sturdy, they continue to push against them. So you just have to somehow make sure that they're not using that as the
As
barricade,
a push wall?
Mm.
which is what we do down in the pond.
Yeah, he doesn't push against that at all. It's just kind of an area, then he kind of comes back the other way when he's picking, scooping.
I mean,
Otherwise, he would push right over.
I would say that part of the O&M plan needs to be to ensure that the grading in that area is maintained in such a way that it is pitched to the 4-bay system. Because of the amount of material that goes down there, that's got to be part of your O&M checklist. Yep, the grading is still consistent. We're still pushing towards the stormwater infrastructure. Because if we build something up and we start pushing the other way, everything goes sideways on us pretty
So the
quick.
key is if you're having ponding and pooling down there, you know that the grading's off,
The grading's-
potentially.
And the grades are subtle here. I mean, we're talking about, except right in the area of the 4-bay, they may not be immediately visible to the naked eye. And so that might be a event-based inspection. Take a look during an event. Do I have pooling water or is the flow of water towards my stormwater infrastructure? If yes, proceed. If no, regrade.
all right. So then over towards area one. As you all saw out there, the pipe has been capped, plugged, sealed off. It even has epoxy around it.
The pipe from the building?
The pipe from the building, yep. And then this wall that has existed, we talked about extending it out, only one block high, just to kind of, again, keep an edge so that there's no question about extending over in that direction.
Are you proposing to keep the edge with the same construction?
The same-
Wattles on the
same
backside.
construction, yes, and then we want to take through, there was some discussion initially that there was some weeping through here.
Both sides.
And so on this one here, there's gonna be wattles all the way across the back again with the stone on top of it.
I think the areas that we were weeping through, you probably want to put wattles on the interior side as well.
Then we would be moving that,
Well, you're not going to be
Clay
pushing up
that's-
against,
that's been there for multiple years.
well, it has to get cleaned out anyways. I mean, that area needs to get cleaned out.
Talking about the area where they put the water?
Right,
Dewatering.
For the dewatering?
right. I
Well,
mean, that area
let's-
needs to be
let's-
cleaned at some point.
let's talk about the dewatering area for a minute. Dave and his brother have, gonna be spending some serious capital
Filter press,
here.
huh?
And they're in the process of purchasing a filter press. And there's one for Amy, there's one of those sheets just talks about the company.
I've got that sheet.
There you go. This is their filter presses all the time.
It's like an Easter egg.
So, this is a big, filter press that
Yeah, because they had one.
Hmm?
They had one.
takes the water that goes through the saw, the cutter inside, and it now is a true closed system. Before we were a semi-closed system because the water would go through and then we'd put it into those 3 vats outside, and we know that whole process. This water would go through, and then it would come through here, and the filter press presses it all in, squeezes the water out, and drops you out cakes of stone dust.
And they can use that material, or they? what
The
do they-
material falls into little hoppers, just like you see in the picture, and it will be stockpiled until we have a truckload, and then taken off to one of the yards that they use, whether it goes to Graniteville or somebody local takes it.
Is that picture on site?
Pictures from another stone yard. It's what these guys do. They build these things for stone yards, and
So where would that be, the
so that's
location
gonna
would be
be
proposed?
located right where the 3 bays are right now. It's gonna be a 12 by 30 shed. It's outside the 100-foot buffer. It's a 12 by 30 shed that's gonna be built against the building. We've met with Warren and Roland to ensure that we don't need to come before the site plan for that. And, because we have already impervious area there, we have already stuff there. They're filing a building permit for it. And we've done a building permit plan, site plan for it. And their foreman, Jim, who you guys have all met, is working with Roland on getting Roland the plans and such that he needs to get him a building permit so they can build the thing. It will be enclosed, it will have a garage door open up so that it can take these hoppers out, and a man door on the end. And it'll be enclosed because, I don't know where that site is, but this site, we get cold weather, and they can't have it freeze. So the thing is run by air pressure and not hydraulics, which I thought it was initially, it's just run by air pressure. And,
So this building would be heated
the building would be heated,
to keep it filtered and
so
freezing.
just to keep it from freezing, yeah.
Talk to me about storage of the filter cakes. Is that gonna be outside? Is that gonna be inside? Are they gonna
Storage of
be
the filter
undercover?
cakes is proposed to be outside. We're probably looking at just storing them down here in this area because it's, we won't be using that area for the drying anymore. And we store them there until we get a truckload. They now-
Covered,
They
I
now
assume?
have a truck on site. We weren't proposing to have them covered.
But
unless-
wouldn't that be, I mean, you've taken all the water out and then you're gonna go exposing it to rain and
Don't you just cover them with a tarp or something?
I don't know what the deal is. I've asked whether they would liquefy, and I think that they're pretty solid when they come out of there, but I don't have
They're
experience
solid.
with them.
I mean, I guess I've never worked with stone dust filter cakes, so it's hard to say. But filter cakes are semi-solid for a while, but they'll bust apart with enough water and enough time.
And over,
Yeah, well,
and
we're
overflow.
hoping not to have a lot of time, where they will be collected, when they get a dump truck load and hauled away. And they now have a dump truck on site, so.
I was gonna say, it seems like if you got them that dry, you would pay to have just a shed roof over it or something,
Yeah.
just to keep it from,
Something, because if
keep the
you,
water.
they fill up with
water
water
from-
and then go over and they're in a,
Yeah, because it's
Resource
more
area.
expensive to haul out a wet material than it is a dry, so, if it's by weight. And what is the quality of, the water coming out of after it squeezes the cakes out?
Stays right in the system, it
so
goes
it's,
right
it's
back in.
looping back in, it's being
So that's
recycled.
right,
It
that's
just,
right.
it goes right back in.
So
so
even
there's
if it
no
has
more
residual,
There's no more discharge of water. We'll lose some water for evaporation, we'll have to be adding water in, but we're not gonna be discharging any water.
Okay.
We lose a bunch of water now, obviously, we're trying these drying methods and whatnot, we can't get.
So what
the water
about the
out.
stone that gets cut outside,
The stone that gets split outside,
split outside?
what about it?
What about the dust and the particles from that?
They've been sweeping it, and they'll continue to sweep it. We have, we have this thing set up. Jim has a sweeper that he has on, from late spring through late fall.
So has he been sweeping the last month or so? Like prior to this snowstorm?
I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know if he's been sweeping this last month or so? I know he has the hand one, but I don't know about the.
Yeah, we.
Because we
you
have
know,
been sweeping at other construction sites already this year, so that's why we're curious.
yeah. It was pretty clean before this last storm. I'm not sure, how much sweeping's been doing.
Their
No.
production was down to about 10% through the winter, and it's at the point where it's ramping back up again now. So that brings us to the next piece. Through the winter, he's been able to put the stuff off into small vats and let them dry, air out. We would like to use the old method for the next month and a half, as they start to ramp up. We're hoping to be, was it May? We're hoping to have this online in the first part of May. The machine's been ordered. It's gonna come in. As I say, Jim's been talking to Roland to get a building permit to build the shed. But we're gonna need to do something as things start to ramp up in this last little bit. And we can ring it with more silt fence, we can do whatever. But, we're asking to use I'll call it the volcano method, the bathtub that we have established there for.
I don't think
Next
we've
month and a half.
established everything in terms of cleaning up this site down here as well. The question of, we couldn't answer whether there's even a lining there, or if the lining came out. So just questions
There's
that.
no
that-
lining in that basin.
Okay, because those were questions that came out on the site walk in terms
That
of the
basin's
basin.
still the basin that was built from way back when. There's no lining in that basin.
But you're still gonna be taking a lot of the water
Mhm.
from the site will go there, right?
Water from the site does run off, as well as the water from Spectacle Pond Road. And I have yet to meet up with Jim. I've left him a couple messages. He was out of town, then he had some snowstorm, so we haven't met up. But I still want to get with Jim. I want to hopefully get the town to put those silt prisms in those two basins up above. And then we would discharge that line right across as we talked.
Yeah.
Directly across, right?
Yeah.
You're not,
Directly
you're not
across,
gonna
take
manage.
it right out of the swale.
I mean, there's no question you take
Chase,
stuff off the
Beginning of
road, there's no
January.
question at all.
And
When
Jimmy
did
hasn't
you-
gone
when did you
anywhere?
hurt your
Right,
knee?
December 28th, yeah.
was right after you'd done that.
It's a really tough site just because of the juxtaposition of it.
Yeah.
So we did the
that we've been
site walk,
struggling with.
was it December 29th or 30th or something? So in the questions that we had then, you were gonna touch base with Jimmy Clyde, and that was end of December.
And missed the meeting, we had set up a meeting and I missed the meeting.
Okay, so I think that there are still questions, though, so.
Yeah.
The only question is that we're trying to get these catch basins out of coming down and being discharged here. But I can't just move Jim's pipe without talking with him.
Right, no, I agree.
And so he was out of town.
But that is something that we would wanna see the plan for as part
Almost
of this,
definitely.
as part of this NOI. Otherwise, you're gonna get back in here.
Figured we'd be amending it or we'd doing something. You know, you guys wanted me to come in, I wanted to get in. We were on our road and then they've came up with purchasing this equipment. So we put everything together as fast as we could to get it in here.
Well, last time we were out there, we also saw some discharge going across the road.
Coming down.
Coming down, going
Because
across and
it hadn't
outletting.
been swept, so it was just coming down and still coming back down into the area.
Coming down this road here,
Yep.
this drive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But it was still picking up
it was picking up
this,
material.
the dirt and that from everything that's being trucked in, from the rocks. So that wasn't coming from the road up above. So I think we have to address kind of how is that gonna be maintained? And then I guess what I'm hearing is that you'd like to turn this back on when it was.
just for a limited time till we can get the press in place.
But you're still gonna have the surface water and stuff from.
The basin will still be
Wasn't
here,
clean.
but the
Yeah.
basin will be more of a stormwater
Yeah.
strictly type thing, and we're taking this water and getting some of this out. We wanna get the town water from, Spectacle Pond Road out.
So it sounds like you still got a little more research to do before, as far as talking to Jim and.
Jim is the only piece that's not there. We have an O and M for sweeping of the site in place. As they say, they rent the equipment and they have it on site all summer, from the late spring to late fall. And then when they slow down production, they go to renting equipment, I forget who it is, they have someone, do you remember who it is that comes and does?
I forget this kind
Do a
of.
sidewalk to turn it back on?
Well, I like the filter press. The one thing that I think is still missing is a stormwater pollution prevention plan.
We submitted that to you when we withdrew the NOI
Got a
before.
SWIP?
That's correct.
I'm sorry, the stormwater pollution prevention. We,
NOI and a SWIP?
Nippities.
Yep, under the
Nippities
NIPD's.
NOI. The Nippities is not, would be one for a Nippity stormwater permit, yes,
Okay.
but it's not a construction Nippities.
No,
It's-
not a construction
It's
an
for the site,
operational-
An operational Nippities.
NIPD's. Yep.
And,
And the
we've-
reason I ask is because that's gonna cover not just the O and M, which is gonna be redundant.
right,
But it's also gonna include visual inspection of certain discharge points to ensure that things that we have, that brought you in front of us in the first place
mm-hmm,
are addressed by you before we even need to get involved.
mm-hmm.
And it formalizes that process.
I know,
and-
I know what.
And so that's a big condition for me, is that we need to see an NOI and a SWIP.
We've
together.
talked with them about the fact that it needs to be put together. We thought that when we went to a closed system here, that there was no discharge to speak of, but then when we went back through and checked on it, because of the dust in the operation, it's
Mhm.
still there, so.
Yeah, my reading is that closed or otherwise, you would still need coverage. But it's,
Because we weren't sure even how much of that contamination that was ending up in that four-way that was then ending up in the wetland was from the operations in the building. Our impression was not very much, because
I'd
that was
say
supposed to be a
Nothing in
closed
the
loop.
nothing in the building was getting there except for it'd come down and be in the structures down here, and
Right, so the dewatering material will not end up in
that
that.
is
No,
correct.
right.
So that will reduce it, but the filter cake themselves won't reduce that, at least from what we thought. It won't reduce that much of the material from ending up in that pond that had been in the first place, because I thought that most of it was from the site, just from the,
A good portion, but a lot of it was through the drying process.
Through the
A lot
drying
of it was
process.
leaching out
Yeah.
into it, so I would say there was a balance of the two. They both contributed. And, you know, when we talked about where the pipe in that got turned off, through there, it's meant to flow, but we do get a lot of truck, just like mud or gravel, that then gets back into that spillway, and water flushes that down
Right.
as well. We talked about that when we were out on site, and
yeah,
kind of potentially how to alleviate that. Is it through, you know, paving this, trying to eliminate some of the mud that comes off the, just wear and tear in terms of everything that's going on there? Because you can't sweep down there, because it's not a hard surface.
it's gravel.
But that does contribute down below it.
So where are we going with this, Rick?
Well, let's see, so one of their questions is, they wanna go back to their previous way of doing it for a finite period of time.
For a couple months, where it sounds.
About a
May.
month and a half. We're in March now.
During the wettest time.
There would be a couple things that, before I even entertained that idea, I would wanna see, and the first is documentation, that this is actually ordered and on its way. Wanna know that that's really gonna happen, in a certain period of time.
Are any of the, Amy, does Jim submit anything to you, or it's just kept in the office? Their office with the O and M, like in regards to cleaning?
It's just on
You just
site.
keep it in the office? Okay.
And I don't know exactly how this would fit for their particular SIC code. Probably they wouldn't have to submit it right now, but EPA state's currently trying to take control of stormwater. program.
What they, well,
But I don't think you would have to
for
submit
them,
it.
they have to submit with the way it's set up for that permit is they would have to submit, and it goes to the EPA because.
Annual reports or something like that would have to be
Yeah,
submitted.
and it's,
Okay.
Massachusetts goes to the EPA. It's one of
Right,
few
but
places it
some,
does.
some industrial codes are not required to submit annual reports.
Theirs
They're
is.
required to hold the documentation on site in the event of
We
an
checked that
inspection.
today, there's this.
Okay.
So what do you wanna do? Well, you just wanna wait for until you get the verification that this thing's been audited?
I mean, I don't,
What about the conversation with Jim Clyde?
I'm
Is that
continuing to try to have it.
But does that have to be
I've left
done?
messages, I just gotta catch up with it.
Reaffirm everything.
That's a good idea.
You're gonna turn it back on?
I'm not opposed to turning it back on ahead of time with redundant erosion controls.
Cause you gotta either move on or do yay or nay, or,
I would wanna see
but it's not,
another.
the erosion control isn't proposed on that plan.
Well, all we're talking about is putting erosion controls around the drying area, right? I mean, the erosion controls are proposed on this plan that we have proposed are the ones that are, you know, on the backside of both of the stone barriers, keeping an edge. We've already replaced the other ones that were on site that you asked us to replace.
Amy, when was the last time anybody was out, do you recall?
and we were there.
End of January,
That sounds about right.
it was around the end of January.
I mean, part of my take is that I would like to recognize the good faith effort of getting that filter press, because I think that's the long-term solution. That
It's part of the solution.
part of the long-term solution to the biggest of the problems, the other being the O and M.
I guess what they're looking for is
Half
that
of
we
it, I
can
think.
turn that 4-bay or whatever it is on so they can continue until we get the press. Is it until the end of May or something?
I would give a very specific time of when
Timeframe,
you're gonna
yeah.
turn it on and when you're gonna turn it off. And that the turn on comes with the factors of that it's been ordered, that we can have a cleaning mechanism in place already, that it's already been swept on a regular basis, erosion control is out. So just the things that we talked about
Mhm.
tonight.
I would
But
want
to make sure they're intact,
When you say
When it turns
erosion
on.
control is out,
and probably.
we've been holding on doing this till we got this, because that's what we talked about when we were on
Mhm.
site, not to do that.
Right.
You're talking about just erosion control around
Yeah.
around the things. Okay.
So that if we do get washes that are coming and we're still picking up down the road, we're not then having to chase it again to clean it back out. Because you're still getting water that's coming down the hard top.
Yeah, and that's still gonna happen, 'cause this is the basin at the
Right, but if
bottom.
you have a big flush and all of a sudden this all slides through.
Oh, yeah,
Then
right.
we're gonna shut it down again, and
Right.
you're gonna have to clean it back out again. So I would be more conservative and probably even go, make sure that downstream is ready to accommodate that if it does happen. Just, I haven't been out on site, so I don't know if the erosion controls are there and
I mean,
installed from a
everything's
couple
all
months
under
ago.
Snow too,
Right.
right now. If
So I
the-
guess you have a checklist of things to do, and then I would feel comfortable at the next meeting, provided all those things are answered, to go ahead on, what day is it?
So,
Next meeting.
April 3rd.
April 3rd?
So, I want to make sure I didn't miss something, 'cause I got distracted for a second. So I have three things for letting the drawing be used again, is the documentation of the filter press is going to be delivered, the sort of internal erosion controls, and that sweeping. And then there's other things in general.
And I think we might include a tentative site inspection there,
Mhm. Yeah.
a site inspection by the commission as well.
After the internal erosion controls are
Sure.
done.
Mhm.
But are we asking for them to go ahead and do the wattles behind? Or is that
We
gonna
were
be-
assuming that we were waiting for an order of conditions for that.
I think that's a reasonable assumption under normal conditions,
Okay.
but
You could have them just temporarily put wattles on the front if you wanted.
I would like to
Because it
see
is present-
redundancy
It is
there.
presently going through, if you turn it back on, perhaps.
But if they're gonna do that, why, it's a cart and horse
I mean,
problem.
Out back of here, in all honesty, there was like a very tiny, small amount of stuff that had come through in
Well, I can't
one
see you
area.
doing much with it until this snow melts, and I don't know how long that way it's staying cold, could be another 2 weeks.
Well, with due regard,
Supposed to
Jim
go
and
on this
I
weekend.
and others were there at least a week prior to you being there, and there were significant areas of it going through. So perhaps to talk to the contractor and he can go through those areas.
My last comment with respect to the NOI broadly is that I would like to see some type of cover for the filter cake material. Doesn't have to be four-sided, a barn, but something to keep
Just a
direct
shed roof.
rainfall off of it, I think would save your client money, save you money in the long run, just hauling it and trucking it. And it certainly is gonna do something positive for the resources we're trying to protect.
Are you
Right,
good?
but it could be, so shed roof means permanent structure, so
Yeah.
I'd rather have something that's less permanent and that easier for them to use, so if
Mm.
all of a sudden this moves, it moves with it. So it's
This isn't
it's
gonna
almost
move.
like a roll, treat it like a roll-off, where it actually has,
Well, this is gonna be right up here in the front of the building, up on the road. And then those bins
what
are,
if the bins.
bins
I
are
mean,
gonna
if
come
the
out.
bin locations move,
we were looking at the bins to come out and dump down here until we have enough storage. So we can put up we could either a shed or an area that we tarp
I'm
or
looking for a
something.
structure, I think it's just basically like they do with roll-offs, it has something that rolls to cover it, which will keep the water to shed versus going inside it.
I just wanna keep it dry and from
Right.
running
I
all
don't
over the place.
understand what you're saying.
I'm trying to keep it dry,
I understand that, but what do you mean with something that rolls? I don't understand.
like on a dumpster on a roll-off.
I think they're proposing to
Well,
dump it in.
we're gonna dump it into a pile and put it in the dump truck.
How long will it sit in the pile?
Do we have enough to go in the dump truck?
So then we're back to.
And that's a problem, that their work is
Go
very
back to
seasonal,
the-
right?
Oh,
You're
I was
sort of
thinking it
slow
was
now
going, it
and
was
ramping
living
up,
in
right?
the bin.
No, so then we're back to the same situation. I agree with Sarah. I think if you have some kind of bin structure where it goes into that, you cover that, and then that gets hauled away.
Right.
That keeps it nice and neat and
Tight.
tight. Otherwise, we're back on the ground again, and we're got the same issue.
So, think about that, we're looking for something to
That
keep
was
it
a
dry.
Just bought a dump
That was
truck.
a
Now you
misunderstanding.
want them to go and buy a roll-off truck.
I don't know. I don't know what this. So
And
we're
they
trying.
bought
We're
a
trying.
machine.
We're trying to just keep this.
Filter dry.
We're trying to keep.
Well,
this,
most people don't do it in a resource area, so I think that's,
trying to work and
Why don't
see
you
if we
come
can.
up with something for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Think about it.
We'll talk
Come up with
about it.
Something
I didn't know
that's
it was getting-
realistic for you to deal with.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got
That's
to
what I wanna
move
keep
on,
track.
we've got to.
And Chase, I'm sorry, what, if anything, did you want on the Nippity SWIP? Did
I mean,
you want,
I would,
Disney.
I would condition, my preference would be to condition this on the filing of a notice of intent as well.
It's not, that's not gonna be an overnight thing to put together.
I understand that.
But we've been talking about it for a while, so. Okay.
All right. Come up with a two-hand
Amy, are
thing.
they on for April 3rd?
yes.
Be here before we know it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
So do you want to have them call when the erosion control's in, try to get a site walk? Maybe before April 3rd, maybe not.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, public hearing, notice of intent, 204-8XX, 305 Foster Street, map R10 parcel 2 and 1 for septic system upgrade to replace an existing failed system. Who would like to speak to that?
Yep. Excuse me.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
That's okay.
I do have an
If you want, just go, no, just go ahead and put it right up here, that's fine.
Green cards?
Right to Amy, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is, my name is Chris McKenzie. I'm from Whitman and Bingham Associates. I'm here to present this project for the Foster Street property. As I'm sure you're all aware, 305 Foster Street is previously the original digital building, I believe. They have the existing building's located here. The Foster Street's way out here. Taylor Road's way over here on this plan. So there's an existing septic system which consists of a grease trap, a septic tank, a pump chamber, goes to a leach area here, and it pumps up to a leach area out in the front yard as well. Both of those leach areas have failed. The D-boxes are full of water.
That on that plan, everything that you just discussed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's all shown right here.
But he shaded it out, right? Yeah,
It-
half-toned it or something.
All of this work is staying, nothing's gonna happen to any of that stuff.
Okay.
It's all staying. The existing leach area there and in the back are just gonna be abandoned in place. What we're proposing is a new septic system leach area. We're gonna pick up from that existing pump chamber. We're gonna run a new force line down to here, to 2 D-boxes, and then separate to a 3rd D-box, and a Presby-style leach area located here. This property is all parking. This line here is the edge of the parking lot. It's all the way down, loops around, comes back, all the way back up. So
That's an existing parking lot?
that's existing parking lot, the entire thing. So we had to dig through pavement to get our test holes in for the septic system. We did some additional testing down here, and the results really weren't as good. So the proposal is to, like I said, put a new force main in and leach area. Obviously, with this pavement here, we have a little bit of an issue with that. The grading for this system, because the groundwater regulations are now different than they were when this system was built, this is gonna be a mounded system. So it's gonna be raised up.
So you're gonna lose parking too?
We're gonna lose some parking. The proposal that we have on the table, there's a potential this might change it. This system's coming in at $275,000 right now. A little bit of a high price tag for the owners right now, so they're considering ways that they can reduce the cost. One, they don't really wanna lose the parking. And so this proposal here shows about 3/4 of the parking, this darker area here, being replaced, paving back over the system once it's installed. There'll be some area, this brown area here and this brown area here will be total loss of pavement there, and it'll all just be side slopes. The proposal that we have here does have a little bit of work in the buffer zone. There's a small finger-like wetland that leads down to a much larger wetland down below. The 50-foot buffer shown here, 100-foot buffer shown there. So you can see some of the work in the pavement is in that buffer zone, as well as some grading over in this area. So we've proposed an erosion control barrier located here to protect the wetlands. There's no work within 50 feet of the wetlands. It's all between the 50 and 100.
Although there's a pipe that appears to be leading to the wetland. Is that okay?
That's an existing drainage pipe,
And is that drainage from the parking area?
parking area. Yeah, it was part of the original approval
there's
of the project.
There's a catch basin for that somewhere?
Yeah, there's catch basins all throughout the site. I didn't get into the drainage study of the site, but there's manholes, there's parking all in front of the building and
and on the sides and stuff over here, so.
And
the-
all that leads to the wetland?
Again, we didn't do a drainage study, we're doing a septic system.
Will be done.
But you're not disturbing that pipe then? in
The
doing-
only disturbance we're doing when it comes to the pipe is this whole parking lot starts up at the building and it all goes downhill down this way. So there's some catch basins and stuff up here, picks up from a manhole to a manhole, and then comes down and empties out down here. I don't think this was even a wetland before the culvert pipe went in. Before this pipe went in, I don't think this was a wetland down here. I'm not sure, it was 1980s, I was just a kid back then.
That plan.
So, but all of this drainage now comes down to a location down here, a double catch basin down here that drains out. Just, a pipe just comes to an end out there. There's no wetlands down there associated with that.
So what is this connecting to then?
That's where I'm working my way up to. So what's happening here is, because the system has to be raised, this purple is the limits of the leach area. Okay, and that system has to be raised. So what's happening, if they need this repaved, I gotta slope this back down this way.
But
So,
it's sloping down
it's
now.
sloping down this way.
So are you just leveling it out, or is it actually going
No,
above
it's gonna go
level?
back up. And that creates a problem for the drainage, because I can't make the water go uphill to get down to this catch basin. So what we're doing is, gonna have a high point, right at the high point of the system. The pavement's gonna top out there. From here down is gonna drain still down to this catch basin, and from here to here is gonna drain to this new catch basin that we're gonna pipe over to this existing pipe, connect in with a manhole, and just down to there.
I see.
Right, so we're adding a catch basin that does come down and then outfalls into an existing pipe,
So it's
into the wet.
increasing.
Well, that's
it's
existing, but the
increasing-
watershed's gonna change.
But we are substantially decreasing the impervious area, is that correct?
But
Or-
they haven't determined if they're
No,
gonna
it's
pave
all-
over
Oh,
it
right,
or
we don't
not
know if
yet.
we're gonna pave over it or not, right, okay.
There is gonna be a decrease, no matter what. There has to be. There's pavement here and there's pavement here that simply, we can't put it back because it would be on a too steep.
And tell me where that's the brown area in the plan?
Yeah, that's the brown
Okay.
area.
So tell me, drop of water falls in that brown half circle, where does it flow? What's the flow path
Right now,
right now, today?
goes to this catch basin.
Okay, that catch
Everything
basin,
from,
that
I
catch
don't
basin
even
then
know
pitches back?
what's that?
That catch basin then pitches back and discharges here?
No, catch basin has a pipe that comes out,
Goes
and
out that way,
discharges out
okay.
this way. I don't know exactly all the hydraulics of all this. I do believe 495 and Route 2 are right here.
Yeah, it's right there.
So although this water goes out here, I'm quite sure it ends up back in that same system. Because either that or it gets under 495 and Route 2 somehow. Because there's no other place for it to go.
So either way, you're increasing the flow into that little wetland, in other words.
Well, this isn't a little wetland. It looks that way, but it just opens right up down here. It's huge.
Good, so you're increasing the flow to a bigger wetland.
And I believe this wetland runs all down on the neighboring property down here. I believe it's a big extensive.
Yeah, it runs back on that
Okay,
backside.
yep.
Gonna need.
I guess I would like to know, though, if you can confirm where the water used to go when it flowed down and into that catch basin, into that other area. Is that feeding any wetland on that other side that would now have less water?
Well, it doesn't show, I can only show so much on a scale here, but there's an on-ramp for Route 2 and 495 right here. It's not going that way. And there's another building here, and Route 2 crosses down there, so there's nowhere for it to go this way. There's a parking lot down here for this property, beyond this wetland, so there's really, this is going downhill that way. There's only one place for it to go, and it's into this same wetlands. I mean, I can get it verified, it'd be easy enough, just look on a USGS map, you'll be able to tell.
Okay.
But it's quite, there really isn't any other choice.
What do you wanna do, folks? You wanna do a site inspection on this?
I think we gotta understand this one a little bit.
Yep, I think we'd have to. I don't.
I did swing by the 300 Foster Street. People called me to go out there, and it was about to get 2 feet of snow, so I ran out there, and I actually stopped here real quick and looked over, and the wetland delineation looked fine. You might not be able to see it now, but I did check that piece of it.
But we
Okay.
really can't do a site inspection till the snow goes. That's kind of a standard procedure we have.
That's fine.
But let's be clear what we wanna ask him to stake out for when we're ready to do the, I'd like to know where this
Let's
new,
take out the 50.
well, I'd be interested to know where the new, and he can just mark it on the pavement, where the new catch basin that's proposed is gonna be.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all pavement out there, so.
You know, just
I mean,
throw a
we'll
dot
just
in
have to do
pavement.
some Painting or something.
Yeah,
on
no,
there,
that's fine, just paint it.
Yeah, and the edge of pavement, where the new edge of pavement will be,
Okay.
paint that.
And, you know, I understand that there's possibly some uncertainty there, so if you need to give us, if you still have two alternatives in front of you, make sure they're both staked out there, so we don't have to go out.
There's no other alternative.
No, in terms of paving. Right,
Oh,
because
again,
we're not
yeah.
sure how much we're
Right,
paving
right.
here, is that right?
The buffer zone work in that area is pretty small, it's all existing pavement. I suppose, I don't know if they're prepared to make a decision on that right at this moment.
Okay.
The owners. I do know we're designing a Presby system here, greatly minimizing the impacts to the entire site and the wetland buffer zone. I want to make it clear that the commission understands this. I roughed out a conventional system as required by DEP in Title V, and show the extent of that system on this plan. That system runs like this. That would be the extent of a conventional size system. Be massive out here. So we've done a lot to keep the size of this system down and to minimize this as much as possible.
Yeah.
Is this the building that's got the cafe or something in it?
Yep.
So they're contributing more than,
It's all been calculated in, it's 8,200 gallons a day we calculated for this system.
Is there any way to shift the whole thing that way, so you actually?
This way?
Yeah.
No,
Towards you?
no, this is a property line right here. We're up against it. We actually have to do a poly barrier and retaining wall here. So I had to shoehorn this thing in. You look here, I am 101 feet from the wetland to the system here. And I am 21 feet here, and I believe the local regulation is 20 for the Board of Health regulation. So I'm bare minimum on both sides.
Exactly where it has to be.
Yeah, there really isn't any room to move it around.
Looks like you've worked hard to stay out of the 50 as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, I
Yeah,
agree.
yep, absolutely. Yeah, I had to do a little reconfiguring. We looked at maybe putting the D-boxes on this end because it was getting so tight over there, but we were able to.
okay. So at some point you have to do, but you can't do a site inspection until the snow's gone. And in the meantime, you'll get it marked out on the pavement?
But just let us know when you're ready, let Amy know, because we can do a site walk prior to hearings as well.
Well, again, much like your situation, you don't really want to do a site walk in the snow. My guys can't really go out there and paint. I don't know if they're plowing this part of the parking lot right now or not, so it may all be snow out there. We may have to wait for the snow to melt before I can mark that out. There's a lot going on
Hate to break it to
here.
you guys, but they're calling for 6 or 8 more inches this weekend too.
Yeah.
so.
Are you serious?
Really?
You excited about that?
No.
There's a lot going on here. If a lot of lines are running over each other, lines of the septic system and edge of pavement, they're all gonna kind of run over each other. That's why the drawing is so confusing looking. I wanna make sure I mark out what you guys wanna see. So we do want the corners of the septic system.
Yes, please.
Okay, now pavement, a lot of that's gonna coincide or run over, the septic system. So I can try to mark it out in various ways, but again, I'm just gonna be putting paint spots on
That's fine.
That's fine.
Yep,
pavement, so
that's fine.
it's hard to.
Yep.
We just want to be able to conceptually understand,
And the
especially if
catch
you have
basin
alternatives.
location, the new catch.
Maybe S for septic, P for pavement or something.
Is it just the life cycle of these buildings out here?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's probably the life cycle of the system.
Well, exactly.
Now
This
there's
is not the
cafe
first
in it
major
versus
septic system we've
as
seen
well.
out there.
Yeah, it's about 30 years old.
Yeah.
Imagine
I
that,
think it was-
30-year design life.
I think it was 1986 or something that originally.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So we don't wanna set a date then for,
Not yet. We're
Not unless you know
flexible as
when
soon
it's
as you're
gonna-
ready.
okay.
Email Amy and then she'll try and get us gathered.
They might be able to look at if it's pavement is plowed now.
But
it's
we
a
wanna be
difference
able to
to-
see the wetlands where it's
Yeah,
flowing.
let's see.
I'm gonna go drive by there when I leave here today, so I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, the wetland's down in a valley, shady valley, so
Yeah, it might be snow for a long time
Snows.
now.
that might take a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
I do know this, that, you know, the system is failing, and they're trying to sell the building, and it's, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's contaminating groundwater now, so there is some urgency to this.
Your Board of Health approval?
No, it's in process with them. It's been submitted to them. All right?
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So no continuation date, we'll base it on when we,
it's a
After the
weather,
sidewalk.
it's a weather
Yeah, I
oriented
think
type
that-
thing.
Do you want to continue to April 3rd?
We'll
Yeah, let's
to
continue,
April
but-
3rd.
Okay.
Yep. And then the meeting after that is the 17th.
But at least you'll be on the agenda for the 3rd,
Yep.
so.
all right.
Although I wouldn't anticipate a lot of activity if we're not able to do the sidewalk.
When do you guys typically do the site walks?
Prior to meetings.
Late afternoon, early evening.
Okay.
Eh,
I know
whenever
a lot of
the
commissioners try to
majority-
get you out there
Sometimes early
on Sundays and stuff, and weekends are extremely tough for me to do, so
As long as we have permission to be on site, most of us try and go during midweek, but it may be that a commissioner needs to go on a weekend, so we would ask for the owner's authorization to do so.
Okay, just whether or not I need to
No.
be there, that's what
We're
matters to me.
pretty
We would ask you to
self-sufficient.
be there once with as many commission members
Right.
are able to attend as possible.
Right,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'll keep in touch on emails.
Okay, sure.
Okay, discussion of order of condition notice of intent, 204-833, 180 Great Road, map U-05 and U11, and parcel 5 and 61 for construction of roadway grading drainage structures for residential development.
I wasn't sure if you were ready to do anything about the order of conditions, so I just put this on the agenda as a placeholder. So I don't know if you wanted to get into it tonight or not.
We haven't read through it yet, so I think it wouldn't be the best use of time right now.
So you want to table it?
Sure,
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering why that was on the agenda. If it
it's just
meant-
holding a place.
Okay, so there's nothing to cover on?
Just in case we,
Had everything done.
drafted everything. We
Okay.
tried,
All right,
actually.
fine. I put too little time on one and too much on another,
That's
so.
all right.
I like it.
You're doing fine.
But here, look, here we
Public
are.
hearing notice of intent, 204-8XX and 204-8XX, 180 Great Road, map 5, U-05 and U-11, and parcels 5 and 61 for 12 individual single-family homes and associated work, construction of the roadway, grading, drainage, and structures for residential development.
All yours.
Good
Introduce
evening.
yourself.
Good evening.
Scott Goddard, wetland scientist, Goddard Consulting.
Matthew Field, M&M Realty Trust.
So, after the adventures of last week, we're back with the individual lots as promised. So, a number of the lots don't require orders of conditions, but a number of them do. And so this is the same kind of overview sheet, except I just wrote some letters, numbers on here to show you which lots, big picture that we have before you tonight. So I wrote in purple the numbers, and each one of these corresponds to one of 12 individual notices of intents that were submitted and are on the agenda. I don't know, schedule-wise, if you think we can discuss all 12, if we should discuss them individually or kind of collectively, and then see if some require more discussion than others. But, so we have, starting over here, lots 5, 6, 7, and then 7, 8, 9 are kind of on the upside of this detention basin. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 come around this edge of the upper part of the wetland here, and then 16. So 5 through 16, as they're referred to in the NOIs, and we can go through one at a time, starting down here and working our way across.
I
Or-
can't see where we can do all of them tonight. It seems like we ought to break it up a little bit.
So, but each one's gonna have its own number.
Yep. Each one does
So-
already.
They've been
amazingly.
assigned by DEP and
Oh.
each a separate number.
Okay.
And this is exactly how we did Turkey. We didn't deal with all of Turkey's in one night.
That's what I'm,
We
So-
did the most sensitive ones first.
Uh,
What was the greatest
I thought we did it the other way.
You kind of went back and forth.
Yeah,
Where are you hoping to start first?
Wherever you want. Let's start
No,
with-
no meaning like building.
I would like to start up in this area
Exactly.
here
This
first.
Okay.
So why
So
don't we
let's
work
go
on
with where you're gonna start to build first.
That makes great sense.
Okay, so do you wanna just allocate a certain amount of time to it for us and then see how far we get, or, I mean, I wanna defer to you and be sensitive to the, you know, the burden that we're putting on you by giving you 12 applications.
We'd rather not get out of here at 10:30, quarter of 11.
Well, we
Same
still
here.
have, we
Same
still
here.
have hearings
Yes,
after you.
You have 20 minutes according to the schedule.
Yeah, I would stick to what we
I
originally
think we
had
can
on
try
the
and at least
schedule.
get a couple through, so let's just,
Yeah.
Or would you-
let's just start.
There's a couple that just have sewer line in the actual houses, everything else is out of the buffer, so.
So I'll leave this one here as a reference.
Okay.
You want me to put that aside? Let me just slide it over here, so
Sure.
you'll always be able to see kind of where we are on the big scale while we look at some of the individual ones. So do you have to open up these hearings individually, separately? So, all right, so I
And
guess
then
we'll
we'll go
start with,
through the number that's,
I think you basically did just open them all.
no, but which one we're gonna look at first?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
we'll, also, you can tell us what DEP number is associated with the lot.
so lot 5, which is here, has DEP file number 204-0838. That will be the first one we can discuss.
Okay.
And then do you have plans
So-
for us to look at
Yeah, well, I
for
mean,
the commissioners?
well, I submitted the application with all the copies that were required.
Do you want copies?
Amy, do you want the notification to abutters?
Do you have the green cards?
Probably. I'll give you both. So we talked about doing one collectively for all, so there weren't,
Yes.
okay.
sure these people are sick of getting green cards already. They don't want
Well,
17
Another
more.
12, yeah.
This is all 5. There's 3 copies. I just colored one of them. Because I was driving myself crazy.
So I have.
What are we starting with first?
Does
Five?
anybody want
Five, it's
the,
gonna go in order, starting with the lowest number.
and
work
some of
our
these
way.
have waivers, some don't.
So again, 5 now, we're down here at the end of the cul-de-sac, and so the infiltration basin that's here is now shown here. All these plans that we are gonna be looking at are all at 20 scale, 1 inch equals 20 feet. So this is the edge of the cul-de-sac here, this is the infiltration basin. So at the last set of meetings for the more global subdivision, that included the installation of the utilities, including the sewer line and also the infiltration basin. We have the limit of work line shown right here, and that's the same limit of work line that we had proposed last week for the project, is the same limit of work line for all of these applications. We're not showing you 2 different hay bale lines or 2 different limits of work lines. We're using the same boundary as we did then for these here now. And more or less, with the exception of number 12, you can see the tree line kind of goes like this and then bumps up here and goes like this. So exception 12, because you can see it's vegetated there. All the other ones follow the existing tree line. So if you go out there, and I think most of you have walked the site, it's fields that are managed and mowed several times a year and whatnot. We're not proposing to clear and cut into that tree line anywhere with the exception of number 12 that has vegetation clearing outside of existing, agricultural field use. So, again, for lot 5, there's our limit of work line. It is the edge of the field, and so it's below the existing of the proposed infiltration basin that was approved last week, and it's below the sewer line work, which was part of that approval last week. The sewer line is gonna come right across the back of this house here. So what's proposed is the house will be largely inside the 100-foot buffer zone. That's this line. Here's the 50-foot buffer zone. Okay, so you can see the limit of work line is gonna be roughly at that, plus or minus 20 feet kind of range. And so the house will be set in here. To the back of the house, we'll have a deck, we'll have the septic tank, and, let's see, yeah, basically the remainder of what's currently grass is gonna continue to be grass after it's graded out for the infiltration basin. So, to me, a lot of these are gonna be somewhat redundant, but the proposal is fairly simple.
Is this house exactly what's gonna be put, or is it just a box on a piece of paper?
I'll defer to the fine gentleman
So
on my
the-
right here.
The
Where's the
box
driveway?
that's there is, most likely larger than we're going to build. We
Where's
put
the
bigger-
driveway?
There's two lines here that show going into the garage. So-
Garage is
So
on the
this is,
right-hand
this is the
side.
garage,
Gray
and there's,
lines.
and there's two gray lines that go into it.
So it's a front and load
Yeah,
garage.
okay.
So this is larger than what you're likely to build.
Yes,
So we could go smaller, but not bigger, is what you're saying.
correct.
And the deck is absolutely gonna be there.
Yes.
I don't know what additional detail you
So
want,
the
but that's,
septic tank's
yep,
right here, so we're gonna come
exactly.
out of the house,
Yep.
go to the septic tank, and then
Yep.
go over to the,
Yep.
force main and
but everything here is above the infiltration basin, above the sewer main, and then we're holding the existing limit of clearing out there. We're maintaining that vegetative buffer to the well.
And now, Amy, because this notice is specific to the house itself, and the house itself and the associated new infrastructure is outside of the 50, this is an NOI for which we don't need to consider a waiver, is that correct?
This was on the waiver list because the lawn will be in the 50-foot.
The lawn.
Grading is-
So,
Okay.
this is where they really overlapped
Well, okay, well, and that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
You know, the first one, we're gonna work out
a lot.
the details
some of the
here,
some of the
right?
grading that we did encounter that was gonna be in the 50, we put on the other one.
Okay,
Even if it was part of that lot itself,
okay.
so I
So
think,
the
um,
grading that's shown here is the exact same grading that was shown in the
Correct.
site-wide utility plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
anything in the 50-foot buffer.
And so this is probably one of the more obvious ones where the potential lawn goes down through the grading that was there for the force main and the basin
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to discuss lawn limits, this is as good as one as any.
Well, the lawn limits is proposed to be the limit of work line, which is the tree line. So basically, what's grass/field now will be grass/lawn post-construction.
You've got a scale there. Can you give me a rough estimate of how far the limit of work is off wetland flag 10?
So we're at 14 feet right there, at the tightest point.
I
Talk-
would prefer, you know, within the 50 anyway, some measured increase in natural vegetation rather than lawn.
Right, because you see how the two kind of come through.
Maybe at the base of slope,
See,
have
but
it be naturally vegetated instead of.
There, even the slope right here,
No, I think she's thinking more in the,
They're
Middle
thinking
of
in
it.
this area right
Yep.
behind the house.
I think, I don't
And
want to
that's-
speak, I don't want to speak for Anna, but I think that's what she's thinking.
Yeah, the middle of the 50.
talk to me about other plans here, so we know exactly. I don't see a fence or anything specified here.
No fences.
No fences. Okay. Is that universally true?
Well, we're not gonna tell
So if
somebody
someone
they
wants to
can't put a
fence
fence
up, they're
up.
gonna have to
Right.
go in and get.
But you're
their
not,
Okay.
but you're not.
But you're not
We're
proposing.
We're
Yeah,
not
no.
proposing it. I
Exactly.
hate fences.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
We will find common ground on that point at least.
I hate them.
Talk to me a little bit about, this is gonna be another thing that we're gonna touch on these properties, although this one, the driveway is essentially almost entirely outside of the 100-foot. Snow storage plans, I mean, here we'll probably just push it off the side of the driveway, is
Right.
that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because you have the garage right there.
Right, yeah.
Okay, that was pretty straightforward.
What is the ST5 again? What is that square?
That's the tank.
That's part of the septic?
Where would you be on
Right
there?
here.
It's,
That's a septic tank, and then the other one is the tank for the force main.
Each lot has its own tank, and then every now and then there's a
There's a
communal
tank.
tank or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
for the
Pump
pumps, yeah.
chamber.
And another thing that I think we're gonna wanna talk about on all of these, and that certainly the location is going to be important, but one of the things we did with Durkee is signage that identifies where we agree that the limit of work is, or where the lawn
Well,
stops.
we'll put the signs right up on the limit of work.
Okay. Well, I don't want the, I don't want signage to surprise you.
No,
That-
it
that's
doesn't
one of the
surprise
things
me. I
that
was
we're-
here for the
Yeah, I was
turkey
here,
meetings, and I
so-
agree with the signs. I really do.
I mean, I
don't
think
want-
the debate is gonna be about where those go, but let's get the easy stuff done first, like,
Absolutely. We agree
we
to put them up.
agreed to put them up.
Right.
And we have signs from Turkey that I think the commission.
Yeah, the exact,
Yeah.
And they are gonna be green and white, because did I mention this? Because
They're green and
they
white.
use them in other
black
towns.
and white.
That's right, I wanted red. No.
I like the green and white myself.
So, I mean, they can be put up
That
You
size.
said they were gonna be
between the
black
lot
and white.
line, you know,
They were,
essentially.
but-
He said they're making green and white for other
Here,
towns anyway.
This is
Oh.
Okay.
what'd they say?
I mean, to the extent, at Turkey, to the extent that we could draw a single
I agree with
unbroken
that.
or continuous line from the lot lines,
Right,
we put them right on the lot edges. In the event
we
that
saw that
there was
last meeting.
a significant change,
Right,
Well,
I think there were a
This right
couple
here.
where we put them in the
This-
middle of the
Yeah,
lot
like
as
this right
well.
here is gonna be, you know,
straight.
I mean, from here, I don't know if you can put it to that, you know, limit of work right there, to the existing tree line over there too.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem putting the signs up where you depict putting them.
Okay.
I think it just comes back to what the commission wants to do with vegetation.
I would like to see at least 25 feet of natural vegetation all along here.
Well, you've got the fill there, so,
We have fill there, we also have, force main that's there, that there is some septic, you know, either.
Right
is-
you know, she's talking closer to the wetlands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
25 feet from the wetland line.
So you're at 14 now.
And 14 at
I think
one
it's
point,
nice
my
to have a
guess is
transition.
from,
Yeah.
you probably have 25 from, sorry, I'm pointing at my screen like you guys can see it. From wetland flag 11, it looks like you probably already have 25. From wetland flag 9, I'm gonna guess you're close to or at 25.
Yep.
Is that,
No, I would say, look, if you
Well,
look at the,
Scott,
half-
you've got the
halfway
scale.
between the 50, halfway between the 50.
Yeah, but he's doing the
Scott's-
scale right
Scott's
here.
got it right there, Anna.
It's 20.
So between, if 10 is 14, what's 11
That
and
red line
9?
is approximately a 25 foot. See that red line I just drew?
Anna, you don't have to here. Take mine.
She's gone.
Oh, you do. The red line. It's
No,
25.
no, he's saying he drew it.
I just
yeah,
did,
it-
right here.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah,
Right here.
that would be great.
No, he just drew it.
No, he drew it.
Drew it.
Yeah, it's not, the brown line is limited work, but the red line that you drew is about halfway between the 50 and the.
Well, let's
I think it'd
let's
be
talk
nice to
about
kinda
that
follow
then,
that contour.
25 feet that you're talking to, and we can jump down into this corner, which
You
I
picking
know
on 12?
Mr.
12 is gonna be the hard one.
Let's,
Yeah.
guys, I wanna stay focused on,
Alright.
if
Well,
we're.
I mean, I
o-
just don't wanna have a standard, get
No,
stuck with
no,
the standard.
I
number.
think-
No, no, no,
I
no,
think
we're
this-
not interested in having a standard,
Okay.
so,
Yep.
yep, that's
It
why I
should be
think we
where
want,
it's practical.
right, that's why we wanna take it
And-
case,
and so then, so you go to a natural vegetation, then what happens if there's an invasive species, you know, it's already there now, I mean, it's just gonna creep in more, if it's not mowed or maintained, I mean, you know.
but that's
if these
what,
fields
that's
weren't
where we
mowed
deal
right
with,
now, it'd be one big field of, what
Pricker
is it,
bushes.
rose, bush, I don't even know what it is, it's just, it's some of the worst stuff to walk.
Multi-floor rows.
but there
Yeah.
can be ways to initiate natural habitat as well, through different bushes, plantings. So that's gonna be our concern, you're gonna be
Mhm.
done with it by the time
I'm
that it's
fine
built.
if we move on with the 25 feet on this lot.
And what goes there?
What would you like?
Well, I think
I mean,
if
really,
you're gonna,
honestly,
if
what's
we're
gonna
gonna
go
do
there?
that, you know, right, it's just a field right now, we should just put up our, you know, our signs and just allow it to regrow as a meadow, you know, and natural meadow species will come in there. That's a
You
transition
can
zone.
plant, it's not gonna, you'll have to plant what's in that 10 feet, it's not gonna just come back.
Well, there's but there's an existing
What's gonna
meadow
come back
there.
is something
Yeah, the
that's gonna-
grasses and the.
Well, that one right there is this year, you
That's
know, right now it's
pumpkin.
pumpkins now.
That's all pumpkins.
This one's pumpkin now, a pumpkin
So
patch,
it's
so.
And it's
bare
plowed
gra-
right to
it's
here.
bare ground.
It's bare ground,
We-
plowed
yeah,
right to the tree line.
right.
But on, lot by lot, that's true, but on average, you're disturbing currently undisturbed areas.
On average.
Well,
So if you-
On average.
Am I?
It's, I forget what the number was. Yeah.
That's what, you paid your consultant to calculate.
Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah, that was actually part of your waiver application, is the balance between disturbed and undisturbed.
So So why don't we just accept a 25-foot buffer zone on this one, and we'll
Plant
plant.
some blueberries.
We
Hybrid
could,
blueberries.
we could do shrubs, or we could just do a meadow, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you need to put some sort of grass cover, just to hold it,
right, I mean,
whatever works.
Well, no,
if it's gonna be
it's
blueberries,
just not
the-
just whatever
the-
works.
the
We're gonna
meadows
be
is gonna
specific,
invade
so.
that and-
You know,
and then
an
that-
up-
Meadow mix.
An upland wildflower or meadow mix is appropriate for the area.
I would say meadow mix, because we want to encourage pollinators.
Right, that's what I would
A
suggest
meadow
also.
mix, you'd have to look at.
Pollinator. Species.
It can,
We're
it
talking
can be a
plants,
meadow, it can be a
sit
meadow
back and
mix
shut
that's
up.
agreeable to your agent, you know, prior to
Or I think you
installation.
should come back in with
Also,
a
we're
meadow
also-
mix spec.
I mean, we're.
Yeah, because I don't think the meadow mix is what we want.
What's that? That's the.
It's not gonna have the height.
Um,
I don't think the meadow mix will work.
this seed right here, on this slope right there, what are we're already planting that with something different anyway.
Yeah, as are the conservation.
Yeah, that's to kind of hold that, and that's gonna be different than in here.
Well,
But
it's
that
not
has a
bad.
lot of vetches and things like that. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's all bare
that-
ground right
that's,
now
that's the
anyway.
same kind of, you know, conservation seed mix can be appropriate for the area.
I would disagree, but you bring in what you think, bring the specs in for the meadow mix, but I don't think it's gonna be what we're looking for in here.
My
I can-
concern with a grass mix like that is that it's just gonna get mowed right back to the edge of the,
Unless we have the signs up.
That's what will happen.
I guess, to the
Yeah, but
extent that I,
What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's the, that's the issue.
That's the issue of working in the first 50.
Right, that's
So that's where the balance comes.
I mean, we're putting the signs up and we're agreeing to
We-
put your,
Yeah.
Right,
Your
but you're
meadow
not,
mix on.
we have to find out how we're enhancing that. Now that it's
Enhancing
disturbed, how do we
also
enhance it?
try
And
and
it may be
stop-
that you have to put some plantings
let's leave
in,
pumpkins there.
so.
I'm also trying to
Yeah, let's
stop
leave
the
pumpkins.
landowner.
You're disturbing the area.
It's already disturbed.
We're also trying to inhibit or stop the landowner from
Bases.
encroaching on the wetland,
But
which is the
basically-
natural tendency is to extend your yard and to
We'll
encroach.
spec a
on-
meadow mix, and we can specify the limit of work line and sign locations on the site plan.
It should be grass, no matter what.
No, I disagree.
It's
It
gotta have some-
may have to have some plantings, based on what he's gonna bring in for the meadow
Grass
mix.
is gonna be mowed, Jim.
Right.
No, but you've gotta have something that's gonna stabilize, even in between your bushes.
Yeah,
or
at a
anything.
minimum, you need a seed mix.
I think
Yeah.
on our
And then
other.
go from
there may have to be
conditions,
some
there are existing
plantings.
Conditions for
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
it already
Well,
has
the
a
meadow
certain
seed will
grass
come
mix
up
on it
quickly
anyway.
too.
what we
for
did
the
with that is
slopes.
that, yeah, it was only the slopes associated with the infiltration basins, because we decided to put that discussion off until here. But you're right, we did specify some things for
Right, this area over here.
infiltration basins.
okay.
I'll bring in proposed changes for this one.
Okay, I would not discourage you from go ahead and putting in some plantings, which may be a nice balance. Other questions on this lot?
And preferably not multi-floor rows.
Well, we got blueberries and that stuff.
Any other questions on this? So we need to just see the specs on, basically, it sounds like just your planting mix, and there's
Yep,
no,
and
no,
I would wanna see where you would propose putting the signs in. And as far as the signs,
what are they on?
yeah, I would like to see them on
Now we're already
ground
doing
ground
No,
pressure
but you're setting the
treated
precedence
lumber.
for the same signs, like what kind of posts you're gonna put in,
So
and then
then
just
every lot's
carry
gonna
on.
have I mean, there's lots that are, you're not gonna have any yard.
Well, but that's why we talked about doing this on a as practical basis. And I think we're all in agreement that Lot 5 is not the paradigm that we apply to everyone necessarily. But
See how it goes.
Shall we move on to lot 6?
let's
Do you
talk
wanna-
let's talk
do you
about
want-
that signage though. What are you guys thinking as far as holding up that sign?
So you
The
just,
green
you
pole
just,
that you put in the ground, the metal one,
How-
that you
or
hammer
a
down in.
4x4
I'd rather see something more substantial, like a 4x4.
pressure treated or cedar?
pressure treated.
I'd rather see pressure treated.
Okay.
But,
Yep, and then all they have,
Talking to the right guy over there.
okay.
so then all you have to do is, all you're asking for is where is it going to go?
I would do it on the, in between lot 5 and lot 6. Lot 5 is
see that
probably
sign?
the harder one because
What? My glasses?
you
Yeah,
have
sign.
an infiltration basin, you don't really have a.
Yeah, and
Clean
there,
spot.
maybe it's one that needs to go mid lot. This might be a place where we don't necessarily put them on lot boundaries.
proposed slope over in the.
But you're asking to put it on the plan.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah.
see where you propose to
Okay,
put those.
just go
on the
ahead
plan.
and,
Yep.
wherever you decide to
update
put
the
it, just
plan.
put on.
For sure.
Okay, so there's no other questions from the commission on lot 5.
I have no other comments on lot 5. I think that is,
Steaming right along. Which
That was-
one,
that
which
was
one
a
do you
good
want to do
start.
next?
Lot
I mean-
6 would be a good second choice. Okay, so
Can I
again,
get plans for lot 6?
so here's the cul-de-sac again, there's lot 5 we just discussed, and immediately adjacent to is lot 6, which is right here.
Wait, we have to get our plans.
Yeah, can I get my,
Yep.
well, these back?
Put them all back, and then give us the next.
Colored ones, just particular drawing? So whoever's lucky gets the colored version.
We have a colored version here for everybody else. So, this is, again, here's lot 5, going right along the line, now we have lot 6, wetland edge here, existing tree line here, which is also where our erosion control line is. The sewer line, which is going in, is right there, so it's right up against the limit of work line with the grading associated with it. The house is almost in its entirety in the 100-foot buffer zone between 50 and 100 feet. There's the septic tank before it goes into the sewer line in the rear, and the driveway, it comes in almost entirely out of the buffer zone to the garage. The buffer zone here is 30 feet at its nearest point. At least at wetland flag 16, let's see, maybe 22 feet or
Where's your
so,
hay- How much from
by
Hayfield
12.
line?
22 feet.
right there. But
right at wetland flag 12.
At 12.
Right here.
But that's just for the sewer line. But by and large, you can see it gets larger than that, and by the time you hit flag 16, you're at 30 feet. So, I think we have,
And that's the existing tree line right there as well, that is staying right there too.
exactly, yep.
So we can put our signs right up there at the tree line.
Yeah, I would
Or
agree.
limit of work on, between slot 5, 6, and then, I mean,
Are there any cleanouts in that sewer line? You're gonna have to have access to it.
Well, there's a manhole right here,
There's a structure right there.
and a manhole right here. So, yes.
So you'd- so basically,
those
you-
are grade.
yeah, basically you want it, grassed, so.
Yeah, we're gonna go with grass
Access.
right back to here.
Yeah, so those, right there, those are the manholes almost on, I think it's
It has
on
to be a
every
sturdy
other
grass,
lot,
'cause
there's at
that's
least one manhole. If not, 2 and.
I think this one's an easy one.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a strong mix to stabilize that.
Yeah.
Oh, Scott, I don't know if you know this, but in the waiver thing, I think that Dan had, or whoever did the calcs, for 3,745 square feet of work within the 50-foot,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a negative 378 for undisturbed. So I guess that's pumpkin turning to lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when
Correct.
there's an actual kind of net.
Which is what we just did on 5,
Yeah.
right? We just turned part of. Do we need to meet that number to satisfy the waiver?
Right.
Well, I don't, for 5, there wasn't a negative number.
Okay. For 5, there wasn't a negative number.
So I was just confused. I'm sure there was something, if someone showed me a picture, I could figure out what was going on, but.
Well, that's
Right.
Scott, should be able to do that.
Outside of the, I guess we can call them our general conditions here, I don't see any unique considerations to lot 6. The limit of work seems to be appropriate, in my opinion.
Beautiful.
That's my opinion as well.
And here again, just throw where the signs are gonna be. If they're on the tree line, just
Yep, we'll
So you want-
depict them
you
on
want
the
the-
drawing.
put them on. And here's one of the ones that I believe is gonna be an infield where we have the erosion control, but if it looks like we're not able to stabilize this fill in this bank, we may have to do like a double area.
Not a problem.
So that's an infield.
Yeah, we agreed to that on site.
I'm sorry, but
That was like if there's a time based on conditions, Phil, that we may have to double up on erosion control coming down from the fill over here.
From lot 5 to 6, right on
I
the.
mean,
tra-
at
where the
the
transition-
existing erosion control line, not
Yeah,
a,
there's
not a
that
separate
stone wall
internal,
got
okay.
A little
yeah.
steep right there.
One condition that we hadn't discussed, herbicides, pesticides.
On
Is it on the condition, oh, that's right, this is separate.
This is separate. Right. My goal here is no surprises on the back end, and we've gotten through two without talking about it, but I don't think.
We have
Well,
a
the standard is
one.
for none within 25 feet.
Right,
Mhm.
And then within the buffer zone, it's the organic or whatever the
Limited or
language is.
minimum.
okay.
So let's just do.
What do you mean, like two green Camelon people?
It says no use of pesticides, including all,
I mean, that's
I'm
the
having
thing
fun.
of
Let me have some
bylaw
fun.
in Littleton anyway, nothing within 25 feet of wetlands.
That's what the Department of Agriculture requires, actually. They're new regs as of last year.
well,
Even
the
for
the standard, and
residential.
we discussed this more at the end, the standard that we have right now is no use of pesticides, including all herbicides, fungicides, or insecticides, is permitted within the buffer zone, with the exception of organically approved pesticides applied according to their labels. Application of only slow-release organic granular type fertilizers,
Then we'll have that.
and nothing within 25. So this, so,
Exactly, it's just easy, and
Those
then
on the
you're just
deed.
done with
We have
it, so
our
you've
attorney-
absolved.
and this,
all of
this
them.
pretty much, but not exactly mirrors what you're gonna get from the planning board and also, anyway, so. They just use the term water
We'll let
soluble.
Jennifer do that.
Okay.
I'm gonna mention that
Someone
to
has to
her,
write that down,
yeah.
besides.
What she just read?
Amy
No,
can,
like-
It'll be
Amy
in the
can send
condition.
you that,
It'll be in
that
the condition.
language.
That's me.
That's you. All right, can I have these
We go on
plans
to lot
back?
7?
Wait, we have to gather our plans. As a point of reference, lot 6 is DEP number,
204-0839.
and so what number are we looking at now?
So now we're on lot 7, which is right here.
Should we discuss 7 and 8 essentially concurrently, since they come to the
Well,
same?
7, 8, 9
Do that?
I understand.
have sort
This
of
is 8 right here.
something in common, which is, you know, these could have been filed either for perhaps even a negative determination of applicability, but the commission could even make a finding of,
This one that we're doing?
make a notice of non-significance, which is something that you can do when a notice of intent is filed.
This is 7,
This is gonna be 7 right here.
yeah, and that's 8.
So,
Can I see 7?
yeah, so,
Seeing these aren't colored in.
so with 7, basically, we're right behind the infiltration basin. So all the work as it pertains to the infiltration basin was approved under the notice of intent. And the area that I have colored here in orange is, with the exception of maybe this little triangle right here, an overlap of the work that was approved under last week's order of conditions. So again, arguably, this didn't need to be filed as a separate notice of intent, potentially. It could have been potentially an RDA. There's 2 options, that since we filed a notice of intent, that I could offer to the commission. One, you could find that it does need an order of conditions, and you could issue the order of conditions. You can also issue, the DEP does allow you to make a finding of notice of non-significance, basically saying that we don't believe that the project, you know, is substantial to the interest of the act and doesn't need an order of conditions.
Chris, what is your opinion?
But there is a house on this lot, so I'm just looking at the paper trail going.
There's a house on the
forward.
lot
It-
out of the buffer zone.
Right, but your area right here is only,
Where you're looking?
sorry, so if this is, what is your yellow lines here, the thicker
That's the
one?
100-foot buffer zone.
So,
So here's the 50,
mm,
this is the detention area, and then this is your 100. So there's no structures
right,
But they may
related
be-
to the house.
But that would be lawn down in there.
This little triangle
Correct.
area would be lawn. Mhm.
So the one thing that I would be interested in seeing here is signs on the back property line denoting. What I'm
The back
concerned about
property line
are
down here?
people taking all their lawn clippings to the backside of the infiltration basin and just losing them back there. That seems like a great place to lose that stuff. Not that signs will always stop them, but at least then they'll know they're bad people.
Well, it's gonna
We
happen.
can put
It
this- we
would.
can put the sign right on the lot lines, like you
That's
say.
gonna happen on every lot. I mean, where else are people gonna throw it? They're gonna throw it in the
They're
back.
gonna get mulching lawnmowers.
You can go up to Long Lake and look
We're
at
gonna
any one of
break it.
those, they dump them across the street from their
So-
house in a
Same thing
vacant
should
lot.
said-
happen. We're not gonna
but-
control that.
On that lot, for instance,
But this is
it's
supposed to
probably,
be my
it's not as accessible with a tractor
We
to
can
get to
try.
the backside of that
We
lot
can
to
try.
begin with. I don't, I think that's, it's not a very good lot to say.
Well, that's not an area that's gonna get mowed anyways. Right
That
there.
triangle probably would be.
By whom?
The homeowner. I think that would be kind of just around the perimeter of the house.
Well, that's what you're,
I think you would get mowing in this corner.
Yes.
Right, I mean, that's essentially their lawn down in there until you hit the grade for the, until you hit the grade.
Right.
I mean, would you wanna let them know that this is an infiltration basin and it's not to be filled with anything? I mean, I would think it would be in your
That would have to be on
interest.
the deed, that should be on the deed.
I think there's something on the deed where that's, an
you've got the
anyway.
easement anyways. There
But
an
it should
easement
be
on
on their deed as well as the deed.
Yeah, they start filling that in, they got
But I
Jim
mean,
Clyde
a
knocking
sign,
on their door, they
a
got bigger
posted
problems than
sign to
signs.
that effect?
No, they won't.
So we'll
Till he has
vote
to
on
clean
lot
it
7
out.
Where we're gonna put the sign.
Where would you like to see a sign?
At the toe slope maybe for the infiltration basin?
On the down gradient edge, like down here?
Oh, no.
No,
Is that what you're saying?
no.
Oh, yeah,
See
that,
where the
Over,
house is?
like,
We'll
Just
put it at the,
face
no,
right
we'll
Like
put it
over
in the,
there.
no,
That's the
we'll
top
put
of
it in the,
slope.
that's gonna be grass
The
there.
top, oh, sorry, I thought it was
Uh,
up and down.
No,
So it's
because
gonna slope
that's
down.
fill.
It
It's
slopes-
just sloping down.
there?
It slopes down.
It's not gonna be,
Yeah,
It drops
top
down.
of slope.
yeah, I mean, where I was saying was actually back,
Right there,
Back
that's
here.
where I'm putting them.
I would, this is a good distance from the wetlands themselves.
No, but you don't want them to dump into the infiltration.
I don't want them to dump anywhere.
At some point, you gotta
Yeah,
give
but we're not
some
gonna put
people
them
some
up there on the
credit.
lawn, Anna.
You know,
We're gonna
for
put them
buying these
back on the
houses.
lot line. We're outside the,
diligent
I
so
don't
that
know,
the
we-
first owner sees it.
And, yeah, because they'll want to put their leaves in your infiltration basin.
But they're gonna have to be able to mow through there.
Uh,
For the basin.
They're gonna mow in the basement?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't just let it go, you
I
gotta.
thought that was the job of maintenance people for the homeowners association.
Town.
The
Town.
I mean,
town.
Someone has to get in there and mow the basins,
Right.
at least
It's
once
not
a
the
year.
homeowner though, so.
It's the town, and Jimmy Clyde will not allow them to put their waste there.
I mean, someone's gonna have, the town,
Okay. So if you
And
can
the
show
sign would be good.
where you're gonna put them.
Where would you like to see them again, just to clarify?
Yes, on the backside of the hill.
Right between the two
That's
lots.
that's my preference. In, there, I would put one on the
That's what
back,
you mentioned earlier.
where 6 and 7 meet.
Do you wanna
Probably-
just color on that one?
Yeah, it's right there in this
His
corner.
copy.
There you go. I don't know, maybe there, and then,
That's gonna get rid of 3 of them right there in one shot on that one. You put one
yeah,
up
I
there.
mean, we should take a look at 9, but I think
and you
9
put
is the same,
8
and we'll
and
put
9
one
at
over
the
on
same
9.
time on that one.
That's why I was saying we should look at 7, 8, and 9 concurrently.
So does the commission feel the need to issue an order of conditions for this activity?
I think they're looking at council for an answer.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, what's your opinion?
That sounds right, but I confess I haven't thought about that. And I hadn't heard the request before tonight, so
There is one
I think if we want the conditions about the fertilizer and pesticide and
That's all gonna go on
the
anyways.
signs, so.
Not if you do a non-significance.
Yeah, it won't be on an order.
We should no findings. I would
And if,
say
and
for
if
the
a
sake
builder
of,
takes this over, I mean,
I think it's
I
more
would
the,
say
I
for the
think
sake
it's more
of
the paper
consistency,
trail.
we just line them all up and knock them all down.
I do too.
Plans?
So did we just knock out 7 and 8?
Well, 8's next. 8's this one right here, which is, of all the applications, if there was one arguably that really shouldn't have even needed to be filed, probably 8 would be the one that could make that argument for it. It's literally a teeny little sliver of pie in the middle of the detention basin. 0 of that is lawn of the house. 100% of it is overlapping with the utility order of conditions of last week. And none of it really has to do with the function of the house proper, which is way up here. That's the 100-foot buffer zone line, which is inside of the detention pond. So, we filed it just for the sake of continuity and keeping the process moving, but, this is the least of all the applications right here.
But it's, the only thing about if we kept that in, that would give us control over the homeowner as far as the retention basin, as far as telling them they can't do anything.
Doesn't our other notice, these
I'm
folks
ju- I'm
will
just-
listen,
I'm just-
I'm not
We already
sure.
had a notice
But the-
of intent for the infiltration.
I know, but the
But the homeowner's not
would
gonna
be
be
of record.
maintaining that one though.
That's a town maintained
It's town maintained,
basin.
so, yeah. So I don't, If it was the
Whenever
homeowner-
the town takes it over, which could be a couple years down the road, potentially. I don't know how
That'll
quickly
be
it.
in the homeowner's deed as
Mm.
far as that they have a piece of the retention basin, but they can't do anything with it.
So prior to it being taken over by the town, you guys
There's
are
an
gonna,
easement
you guys
there
are gonna
already
maintain
on
it.
that. There's gonna be an easement, there's already an easement line right there where
Yeah.
that's, you know, in the, this part right here is already in the easement line.
I think it deserves a motion to either disregard this or not from the board members, so.
I guess I'm
We-
just
we-
curious
we
who
could- we-
maintains it prior to the town taking over? Once it's built and the lot isn't sold, who's maintaining it?
Developer until that point, for sure.
And then you have, if it's a different developer, you don't have an order of conditions.
It's not a different developer.
I'm just saying if it is.
Another option with this particular application is if it was the will of the commission, we could make a request at this meeting to withdraw that application altogether and just take it off the books. I'm only saying that because it's so minor and it's 100% overlap.
I think we have enough coverage with the utility notice of intent and order of conditions.
And I would
So-
like, I'd like a
Oh, well-
motion to instruct if they can take it out from the board members.
Or we could do
Well,
a motion of
record.
non-significance for
Yeah.
this lot.
We'll make a verbal request to withdraw the notice of intent for Lot 8.
Right.
Which
So
we
then
can,
you have to
So we
accept
have a
that.
motion to accept the verbal request to withdraw the application.
Right.
I move that we accept the withdrawal for
I just
All right,
moved.
you have a
application.
motion.
You just
Oh,
moved.
she did.
I need
Oh,
a second.
second.
Second,
All
whatever.
those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
hey, 5 out of 12, we're doing pretty good so far.
Well, let's-
So
Now, I'm gonna screw up my DEP file numbers.
We'll get 9 in.
Yeah, let's
Oh,
get nine.
I don't think I gave you,
Should
so the
9 be the
DEP
last?
file number for
Yeah.
Lot 7 was
Yeah.
204-0840.
This should be the last.
And then the
Yeah.
DEP file number for 8 was 204-0841.
Yeah.
Okay.
one more and that's it for tonight.
Fair enough.
Well, and I think that's probably good because with the feedback that we've gotten, particularly from Lot 5, we know the things you might be looking for in the other ones, and we'll be able to preempt some of your
Yep.
comments,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on those as well, so. And Lot 9 is actually a lot like the previous two, because it also sits behind the detention
Does
basin.
anybody want plans?
Lot 9 is this one right here. So again, if you look on the plan, here's 9, there's the detention pond, so we're sitting right behind it. This is the site plan here for Lot 9.
Well, you're lucky.
And with respect to Lot 9, again, here's the 100-foot buffer zone. So again, it's just like Lot 8. The work is 100% overlap of sitting inside the infiltration basin between the 50 and the 100, and it's a little bit below the 50, but again, that's all 100% overlap from last week's application. And the discussion on this, I would expect, would be very similar to that of Lot 8, and unless you see something that I don't see, and if that be the will of the commission, we could make a similar request that we did with Lot 8, if you found it to be appropriate.
I did just have one question on this. The emergency overflow, it looks like that goes into, I guess it doesn't matter, because it's gonna be town land anyway, right behind it,
Yes.
right? It goes off, so, all right, never mind.
What's the will of the board?
This is Lot 10, that's the next one. So that's the one that we may or may not get to tonight. We're dealing with Lot 9, which is this one,
That's
DEP
it.
file number
That's it.
204-0802.
I just had a question. on what-
842?
842, excuse
I
me.
know, but I
Are you
mean,
making,
that's,
all right, so I would ask that, if you wanna make that motion.
I request that we withdraw the notice of intent for Lot 9.
I would make a motion that we accept the request.
do I
I'll
hear a
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So one housekeeping thing, I think everyone understands, but we can't close any of these or
Right, no, we're not closing them.
until
We're requesting a continuation
of all.
of all now 10 applications. 2 of them are now withdrawn. So all 10 are being requested to be continued to the next meeting, which is what date?
It's 9.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
But we did,
Minus
We removed
2.
Only 2.
So
Yeah,
we're down to
moved
10.
2.
okay.
Yeah, so
I
no,
was
we've only,
trying to-
we've only moved 2.
I was trying to I was counting the ones we reviewed, which
Right.
would be 9.
Yeah.
One
No,
way
we're
or
good.
another, we do have an
Okay,
answer
so
on.
continue to what date?
April 3rd?
Yep.
Right, okay. April 3rd. And what we will do is, we will make those modifications to 5, 6, and 7 as discussed. We will also then internally review the remaining lots, 10 through 16, and see if we can show similar signage and perhaps try to guess the will of the commission in light of our discussion
Will you
tonight.
consider some signage on these?
On all,
Even-
on all the
On
other
all of
ones.
them.
All
Yeah,
of them, we're putting them on all.
On all of them.
Okay,
Yep, exactly.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Amy, what time are we on the 3rd?
I have no idea.
Alrighty then.
I will not send you the attachment of that later.
9:20, public hearing to request an amended order of conditions. 20-4.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
-718 Russell Street submitted to the amendment order of conditions to include sidewalk construction and bicycle rack at Town Beach. How does these two?
Thank you for waiting.
I'd like the record to reflect that they were here way before their meeting time, so
Did
we've
you not?
only kept them waiting half an hour.
Exactly.
I ran out of gas at work. I got tired after being in the office for 12 hours.
The town gets
Come
your
watch this.
invoices. I don't want to get yelled at.
All right, good evening for the record. Tom Bigelow from Green International and Luc Boucher.
About time to do bike racks.
Yes.
How
So,
do the two relate?
Luke's gonna
One's
ride
on
his bike.
Russell Street and one's on Town Beach.
correct. So this is for an amended order of conditions for the Russell Street project, which is a new sidewalk that has already been approved by the commission to be constructed between Delaney Drive and 119. So basically from just over the bridge towards the point. The
Yes, yeah.
The new portion of this project, at least as it applies to the Russell Street sidewalk, is to reconstruct the existing sidewalk from the middle school. If you see here on this plan, this is the driveway that heads back to the Russell Street Elementary School. Starting from this point down towards the 495 bridge. We'll stop reconstructing the existing sidewalk just before the bridge, and then we'll pick back up on the northern side of the bridge.
Is that just because DOT's got the bridge?
We don't want to touch the bridge. They probably wouldn't let us, even if we asked. So
It's a shame, because that's the worst part of
that,
it.
that really is. It is. So, and then we pick up on the northern side of the bridge, and then we will connect into the new sidewalk that will be constructed under the already approved order of conditions. So the new sidewalk will be 5 feet wide, which is generally what is there now. It'll be a bituminous concrete sidewalk. We'll remove and reset the granite curbs. There's
Bituminous concrete?
asphalt.
Oh, asphalt. Okay, that's different, isn't it? Okay.
You said granite curbs?
Yeah, we'll be removing and resetting the granite curb, so the curb that's already there now, they will reuse.
Gotcha.
So, this is a part of the Complete Streets project, which received funding from Mass DOT. All of, both the new sidewalk and the reconstructed sidewalk is all funded by that. That also relates to the bicycle rack. There are 6 bicycle racks being installed in town. One of them is at the town beach. That's the one that's within the buffer zone. So that is, like I said, being installed at the town beach at Long Lake. And it is within the 100-foot buffer zone, but not within the 50-foot buffer zone. That's a 17 by 9, I believe.
17 by 7.
By 7. Square bicycle rack.
Is it right
Concrete
next to
pad.
that, the concrete wall?
It is next to the existing bicycle rack that's there. It's, I think it's small. It only fits maybe 2 or 4 bikes. So this is.
I would not have told you that there was a bicycle rack.
That's why we're putting another one in. So there's the existing building here. I believe this is where the lifeguards will sit. And back here, they do canoe rentals and kayak rentals. So then the new bicycle rack will be right here. There's a path that connects this parking, the boat launch and the parking area. So it's going to go right between the building and that dirt path that's
It
there.
isn't blocking any entrance for the canoes or anything like that, is it?
No, we've sited it out of the way to keep it out of that.
And I noticed the sign is falling down there. I thought I noticed the sign.
That
the beach.
I haven't noticed, no.
No, I think it fell down.
But it's,
That isn't included in this.
No.
Is all this under one?
It's all under one amended notice of intent. Typically, we would have gone for an RDA for this work, but because it's all going out as one project, we're asking for an amended notice of intent.
Now, what kind of, are you sinking them through, using post hole diggers, or how are you installing
Sure, I have that detail
the
somewhere.
bike rack?
It's a concrete pad.
Yep.
Concrete. and
Right.
sitting
A
in-
concrete pad,
sitting into
and
concrete.
I believe they will be bolted to the concrete pad. But it's all one long system that holds 12 bikes.
Poured in place or just brought in?
The pad will be poured in place.
Who's doing this, town? or-
The highway department is putting out a contract for it to be constructed by a general contractor. So we're hoping to get this out to bid as soon as possible. Mass DOT has asked us to try to use a good portion of the funding by the end of this fiscal year, which is June, end of June, so.
Use it or lose it, right?
Yep.
Paperwork, Amy?
Well, I don't want to jump ahead here,
But suppose you did, what?
but while you were discussing, I was going to pull out the
Make a
paperwork.
motion.
Now, wait, one thing, are you changing any type of drainage with the sidewalk, or is it all just?
No, it pitches towards Russell Street now, and it will pitch towards Russell Street when we're done, so.
Probably be somewhat less pervious by the time they're done.
It was pervious when they constructed it.
At the point that it hits 119 from Russell Street, is there going to be a crosswalk, or is there already an existing crosswalk over to the point?
I believe there is an existing crosswalk to the point.
Yeah, I think it's only on
There was
one.
already a
That's if you
previous
dare.
that was never built
I was
it.
just asking because
Yeah.
they get the
Because remember all-
bicycles, I would assume the bikes are going to want to cross and go to the point.
Is this
There is
a
there
handicap
is one.
access along there in places where people can access the sidewalk? Is there any places for
Like the
that?
rumbles.
Yes, so where this reconstructed sidewalk will start. Find that.
So that's Russell, yeah, I mean, this is an aerial.
So here we'll have ADA compliant handicap ramp. There won't, yeah, with detectable warning panel. There are not any handicap ramps proposed along there.
Okay.
Those are mid-block crossings which aren't particularly safe. It encourages people to cross where they could possibly get hit. So.
Yeah, I mean, what they need is cross.
But it will all be ADA compliant.
No, but I was wondering,
Yeah, it's an awful place.
there's office buildings along there someplace, or are you on the
There
other
is.
side of the street?
That's under the new portion of the sidewalk that has already been approved. But it is on that same side of the street. So the people in the office buildings will be able to get right to the sidewalk without having to cross Russell Street.
How long ago was that approved? Seems
A year or
a while
2
ago.
years ago.
It was a while ago.
Still current?
Let's see, we asked for an updated one and received that in,
Yeah, yeah.
the original one was 2012. It was extended in 2015.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Good.
November
Just
2015.
remember walking in there. Okay.
All right, can I have a motion to accept?
Sarah did.
Oh, she started it, yeah. You want to complete your motion?
No, someone can start from scratch. Go ahead, Andrew.
You want me to do it? Okay.
You're so good at it.
Now I got to rewrite it.
Oh, sorry.
Uh-oh. So I will make a motion to grant an amended order of conditions as requested by the applicant for DEP file number 204-718, Russell Street.
Second.
Come on, Anna.
No, she
No,
said.
I just did it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you guys.
Good night.
Sorry, I had to put you on last.
No worries.
How'd you get for being the last one in?
Okay, I'd like to close this.
Do you have anything else? Lou?
The only other thing was, we were discussing the alumni field order of conditions, and we have the fertilizer one that I read out to you, and then Annie came up with different language.
It's because you crossed out the other one. I wouldn't mind if you,
Just revert to the original language.
Yeah, revert to the original
Right.
language. That would be good.
Yeah, I meant to try to grab you ahead of time. Never mind, I'm done.
So we'll issue that order of conditions in 2 weeks?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Alumni
Did
Field.
we already sign it?
Yes, you did.
I would like
No, we
to
didn't.
close or adjourn this meeting at 10:59.
Second.
9:50.
9:59.
9:59.
59. Oh, nine.
I was just saying,
Well,
my
I'm
God,
looking
is
at
that,
the
like,
clock.
Until you get to
Oh.
look at.
is that late?
10:59 would be 11.
All right,
Thank
anyways,
you.
anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Anna got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you shut that off?
Okay.
I happened to be over at the fire station today.
The new one or the old one?
The old guy.